We are live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as practice is underway for Saturday's second Brickyard 400. There are cars already out there on the racetrack. Practice got underway about 90 seconds ago. There's last year's winner, Jeff Gordon, who's coming down pit road. Well, this all culminates some incredible testing that has gone on here since last year. The cars have raced 9,800 2 laps and 11,800 miles, but just here at the Brickyard, the cars have tested 5,600 laps and over 14,000 miles. Ned Jarrett, this is a big race for everybody.
No question about it, Bob. When we came here a year ago, it was, there was some novelty involved with it. It was something new to Winston Cup racing. It was big, no question about it. And then the success of the race last year, that has carried over to now. It's exciting to come back here again. The drivers want to come back and prove that they deserve to be on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and running in the Brickyard 400. And I'll tell you, when they took a look at the entry blank when it was mailed out a few weeks ago, they were really excited about coming here.
$3.2 million last year in the purse. This year, it's $4,513,000. To win the pole position pays $90,000. And the man who will be in victory lane on Saturday will get in excess of $600,000. Benny Parsons, we are talking big.
Who you calling big?
No, not you, the event, BP.
Oh, you mean the Brickyard 400?
Exactly.
Enormous event. I read the other day Mark Martin had a quote that someone had in the newspaper that last year the Brickyard 400, he didn't think that it was a big deal, that it would not live up to the hype before the Brickyard 400. But once he came up here to Indianapolis, he ran that race. He said, man, I went home and I was convinced that the Brickyard 400 is the biggest event we run all year, as a matter of fact. I hope we get a chance to talk to Mark Martin about that a little bit later, because he said it is huge, and he's right. It is. Last year, Bob, I took a ride around the racetrack in that pace car before the race. All the former Winston Cup champions, Ned Jarrett rode around, I rode around. It was unbelievable to see 300,000 people clapping and cheering as you went by. Jerry Punch, how big is it?
Who's big? Oh, how big is it, Benny? Well, actually, how big was it a year ago? 84 cars were entered here at this racetrack trying to make the starting field. And remember, they only started 43, which means, barring Bob Jenkins' calculator, that 41 went home. Now, this year, there are only 54 entries. People say, well, why so few? Has it lost some of its luster? No, not at all. The reason the cars' numbers are down is because people have realized how difficult it is to qualify for this field, how tough it is to get in the field of the Brickyard 400. But the cars that are here are the key guys. Take a look. Dale Earnhardt's Goodrich Chevrolet. He's here. Behind me, the guy who won it a year ago, Jeff Gordon. Sterling Marlin, Daytona 500 winner. All the heavy hitters in NASCAR. And some extras like Supertex. A.J. Foyt, he's here to try to make the field for the second running of the Brickyard 400. Let's go to John Kernan.
Jerry, for me, someone who grew up in the Midwest, only about 3.5, 4 hours away from here, this is really a big deal. In fact, when I first got into this business, working at a local radio station back in Farmington, Missouri, running the board and listening to Paul Page describe the Brickyard and the Indy 500. At that point, it was my dream to someday come here, stand right here in Gasoline Alley. But you know what? I never dreamed that NASCAR Winston Cup Racing would bring me here. In fact, it still boggles my mind that these guys ran a race here last year and are getting ready to run another one this weekend. I think it's that mystique that has already started filling up the stands. In fact, Bob, every ticket sold for this weekend. It is a big deal.
It is the hottest ticket in town, and we have a very hot day in town. I've been living here all my life, and rarely do we have heat this excessive, Ned. This time of year, it's 91. It's supposed to be that way through race day, and the humidity is also up there at 74%. Last year, I don't think we got above 75 degrees during the entire weekend.
Yeah, it's a big difference in a year ago. Now, many of the drivers and teams, in fact, most of them, are accustomed to this kind of heat. At Talladega a few weeks ago and Pocono the week before that, it was very, very hot. But the difference is this year here at this racetrack is so different that the race setup is not going to be the same. The qualifying setup isn't going to be the same. And that's why I think that many of them will welcome this extra practice time here this afternoon, that they can get those cars dialed in.
One of the real interesting things to watch for during the next 4 hours, you'll see on each of us little dark spots on the shirt indicating some perspiration. And of course, Benny's got the biggest one going already.
Hey, you see that, folks? That's not from the outside in. That's from the inside out. I'm leaking. It is extremely warm. Right now, I'm in the shade, and I will stay there as much as I possibly can this afternoon because it is very, very warm. Isn't it, Jerry?
A very warm day indeed. Hey, there's Bill Elliott, who's made his way onto the Speedway.
You know, I look for him to run good here. His stock has gone up here recently. Been running a lot better than he did in the first half of the year.
Well, Ned and I are also outdoors. We're not up in any air-conditioned booth. We do have a tent that we're sitting under back here in the garage area. So we're down here amongst the activity as we continue to follow practice for the Brickyard 400. We'll be back with more in a moment. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that is Mark Martin out there doing some practicing for tomorrow's qualifications. Now, the best speed that we've had turned in so far has come from Jeff Gordon at 169.5 miles an hour. Let's see, Mark Martin has been at 167.738. That's the best that he has accomplished so far, Ned. And as you can see, he's coming into the pits.
So they'll only go out and run a couple of laps, get the feel of the car. Sometimes they'll cut it off to get a clean plug check so they can see how the engine is performing and that kind of thing.
You'll notice that we do have trap speeds for you, so you will be able to see how fast they're running in each particular area of the racetrack. There is Jeff Purvis in the Jackaroo barbecue sauce car, who is entering turn number 1, 44.
As you can see, they go into that turn very low, and he drifts up next to the wall. This track, as most racetracks, it has a particular groove that you can go faster than anywhere else, and part of their job this afternoon is to find that groove that works best for their race car.
Jeff Purvis started 29th last year. He finished in 34th position. There you can see his trap speeds, 177 at the end of the backstretch. He was at 158 in the north short chute and 157 in the fourth turn. And of course, the fastest part of the racetrack, depending upon which way the wind is blowing, is going to be either at the end of the backstretch or into the front stretch. In this case, it's the end of the front stretch. He had 185 miles an hour there. That turn 4 speed, Ned, pretty low there at 157.
Yeah, that's one of the slower points on the racetrack. And of course, these turns are not banked. Nothing compared to Daytona or Talladega or even Michigan or Charlotte.
There is Steve Grissom, who's getting ready to go out onto the racetrack. You know, one thing that has occurred here just in the last few days was a ruling regarding tires, and that has raised the question of exactly how much practice these guys will actually take part in this afternoon.
Well, the rule in NASCAR is that they are allowed 3 sets of tires until after qualifying. So they can do as much practice as they want to, but they only have those 3 sets of tires. At most racetracks, and this one also I think will be the case, that new tires are the fastest. So they'll want to save a set of tires for the qualifying. Some might want to save a set just in case they have a problem in qualifying on Thursday that they'd have to come back on Friday. So they are concerned that maybe they don't have enough tires for this amount of practice.
4 hours of practice today and a couple of hours of practice tomorrow before the run for the pole begins. Let's get more on this story with Benny Parsons.
Well, just expand a little bit on what Ned Jerry was talking about. Normally the cars would go out on one set of tires. They'd try to set the car up, and then make a simulated qualifying run. They'd put some tape over the grill, and they'd go out just like they were qualifying with brand new tires, and then they put another set of tires on for qualifying. And they tell me that the difference between a used set of tires and brand new tires is over 1 second here. So that's why they're not able to run many laps right now, just a lap or 2 at a time, because they can't use all those tires up. And Kevin Triplett, NASCAR spokesman, has agreed to talk to us. And Kevin, the rule is 3 sets of tires, but yet we're here with 6 hours practice. Why not another set of tires?
Well, we have an open door policy, and our guys came to us after last year and said the 3 o'clock qualifying time is a little too late in the afternoon. Around 4:30, this track changes so much, even if the sun really doesn't go down, that's another second. Like you were talking about, you said a new tire and used tires, that a guy going after 4:30 could pick up almost a whole second just from where he draws, like on his qualifying draw. So what we decided to do was to try to accommodate that and move qualifying up to 1 o'clock. We even rearranged the way we have second round qualifying. The problem with that is it took some of our practice time away, and this still being a new facility where a lot of teams haven't, a lot of our guys haven't run, we needed some more practice time. We opened up today, told them, hey, it's there if you want it. You don't have to use it. It's there if you want it, but you still only get 3 sets of tires. So we've tried to alleviate one problem, and some of the guys, I guess, think we created another one.
Well, that's some of the guys are saying that, you know, why are we here if we're not going to be able to get another set of tires?
Well, if you look at the amount of time that they still have the opportunity to practice, even though we're here an extra day this year, it's still only a couple of more hours of time than what we had last year. We packed a lot more into Thursday last year than we're going to do this year. Tomorrow is going to be a little bit lighter time-wise compared to what it was last year. But we were splitting teams up 40 and 40 going out at one time and 40 in another one, and it got confusing, and teams wanted some more practice time. We just couldn't do it on Thursday. So I guess it's something else that now that they're going to want us to address.
So next year we'll probably have 4 sets of tires for practice.
Dr. Jerry Punch has more on this story as we go to him someplace in the garage area. Jerry?
Well, Bob, appropriately, we're over at the Goodyear Tire Compound, and I'm with Goodyear's marketing director for stock car racing, Phil Homer. And Phil, we just talked to a NASCAR official about the fact that there's a limitation, just 3 sets of tires prior to the field being set. That's been in effect for a couple of years. How did that come about? I mean, there are some competitors who thought that Goodyear was involved in that decision.
Actually, we weren't. 3 years ago, the car owners themselves went to NASCAR, I think almost as a body, and requested a limit on tires in some fashion or whatnot, so they wouldn't tend to use so many. And so it was decided to have a limit prior to qualifying. And NASCAR actually created that as a policy at the request of the car owners.
So let's put the rest right now. There is no scarcity or limitation on tires. If NASCAR were to say, okay, we're going to give you a 4-set, Goodyear has the tires.
Yeah, we do. We could do that, and we'd probably be in fair shape, but I think the 3 tire set thing is the way to go. You got a policy, you should keep with it. We were requested to bring 2,200 tires here. We brought 2,300 tires, and I think that's a good quantity for this race. It matches it's more than what was used last year by both companies.
Let's explain why the car owners are so hip on coming to you and why the car owners like the rule and the crew chiefs and drivers hate the rule. Now, you talked about early in the year, you talked about some of the races back before. Now, how many sets of tires would, let's say, a Rusty Wallace use in practice prior to qualifying on the first day on the average?
Well, there are some tracks in the circuit that the race track itself is basically worn out. And a tire will only keep that real quick edge for a couple laps before it gets a little bit slower because the track has no adhesion to it. And there were times in the past where on a Friday morning, from Friday morning practice to Friday afternoon qualifying, guys would be qualifying on their 7th set of tires. And
Wait a minute, 7 sets at about $1,200 and something a set. That's about $8 grand before you even qualify.
That's just to get into the show, and that doesn't count the 500 miles afterwards. So it was really costly to the car owners, and they were looking. They knew that there was some way there that they could basically conserve, and that was good way to do it.
Well, tires are the key at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, they got 3 sets, and it'll remain 3 sets. But, Phil, let me show them why tires are so important, particularly this time of the year, because right now it's 92 degrees here. Let me show you. Come along. Let me show you what the temperature is on this Goodyear Eagle, just sitting here in the garage here, minding its own business, not even on a race car. I'm going to shoot the side of this tire, and sitting here in the sun, it registers 130 to 131 degrees. So you got to wonder the track surface temperature. It's going to be even hotter out there, Phil.
Yeah, the asphalt being a dark color, I wouldn't be surprised if it's about 135 out on the asphalt right now at this heat. And it's going to get hotter later on today.
It's going to get even hotter out there, 135 out there, 130 sitting here in the semi-shade of the Goodyear compound. So tires certainly very critical here at Indianapolis. Let's go to Benny Parsons.
All right, this is Tony Glover. He's the crew chief for the Kodak Film Chevrolet. They're the winner at Talladega last week. As a matter of fact, you've won, what, 3 races this year?
Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate this year. We've had 3 wins, and things been going pretty good for us. We just got to keep working hard and see if we can be there at 10.
Why aren't you practicing?
Well, you know, NASCAR limits us to 3 sets of tires, and it'll take 1 set to qualify, so that gives us 2 sets for 6 hours practice. And we came up here and tested for 6 days, so hopefully we don't need a lot of practice.
How many laps did you have on the racetrack?
We probably run, I don't know, maybe 800 miles up here.
Practice.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to win this thing, aren't you?
Well, we're going to give it our best.
What's the difference last year about, is the Brickyard 400 as big a deal this year as it was last year to you?
I don't know. You know, it's this place amazes me every time I come through the gate. It just, you know, it just really makes you feel funny inside thinking about all the legends that have been here and, you know, all the history of this place. So, yeah, that's kind of bothers you a little bit.
All right, let's tell you what. Let's go for a walk. Brad, want to go for a walk? See what's going on here. Thanks, Tony. Good luck to you. All right, we've got the Family Channel Ford, Musgrave, and Howard. Let's get, he's been on the racetrack. Let's see, hey, Howard, can we listen into your conversation with Ted? Come on, okay, yeah, we're going to listen. Ted, how was the car in practice?
Well, we just made 2 laps, just shaking the car down a little bit, and it's a lot tighter than what it was when we were here practicing. I think that's just due to the fact that we have, a different stagger and a different compound on the left side now.
You and Howard go ahead and talk just like you were talking. We'll just listen in.
I think Benny's really overweight, don't you think? I mean, oh, okay.
Overpaid, you said?
Overpaid or overweight? Which one was that?
Probably a little bit of both, but go ahead and talk about the car.
Well, we're just kind of discussing some options to do here. We can change the left front caster, roll center in the back, and wedge, a few odds and ends things. But like I say, we're just trying to figure out what would be the best. And we got like 3 of them, and which one would you choose?
Well, I see the big wrenches back here, so you're going to raise the rear panhard bar. Is that what you're fixing to do?
Yeah, we're going to try that, Benny. The first time, like I say, we'll just go try that out, raise it an inch on both sides, and see what that'll do. At least if we know if we're heading in the right direction or not.
So will you go back out and run one corner or a whole lap?
You can pretty much tell just in one corner, one half of the racetrack, and you'll tell if it's right or wrong. But it takes you a full lap to get back in, so we'll try it twice.
Howard, you got anything to say?
Yeah, as good as we ran here a couple weeks ago when we tested, I think it's just a matter of trying to adjust to the new tire a little bit, and I think we'll be all right.
What's different on the tires this time? Oh, we got to raise this car up. I leaned on it, so that way they couldn't get the jack on it, and I stepped back now they can get the jack under. What's different on these tires than the ones that you had last week?
Well, they came back with a little bit softer compound on the left and a little bit less stagger, so both of those things are going to tighten the car up a little bit. It's just pretty tight off, tighter than we expected, so there's a bunch of things we can do, and we'll just try them one thing at a time, try to be methodical.
All right, I'm going to show you what these guys are doing back here. Brad, let's show them what they're doing with the panhard bar back here. You've already changed it? Yep. Man, that was too quick. Hey, let's go on. Ned,
Benny, I was wondering, we talked about all the miles of testing that has gone on here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway since last year. Now they're here with a different tire, different stagger on the tires, and also a different spoiler rule. How much worth is in that testing they did?
Really, truly, you can probably take a lot of that testing and just throw it away. You talk about the spoiler rule, what is it, 65 degrees? It has to be this week, Ned?
Yeah, right.
The angle of the spoiler has to be a minimum of 65 degrees this week. One thing they could do to loosen the car up would be lay that spoiler back. They don't have that option this week. Let's see who else is down here. Hey, have you seen the new Mark Martin car? Ned, did you see the new paint job on this car?
No, I didn't get by there.
Oh, man. Brad, can you get in here and take a shot of this car?
Looks pretty from the back.
See, we got a red stripe down the side. The other side has a blue stripe down it. This is Valvoline, their sponsor on this car, their 100th year in auto racing. 100 years they've been making lubricants. All right, let's see what this guy's doing on the back of the car here. All right. Hey, what are we doing under there?
Changing the shock, man.
Change the shock absorber. What's the matter? More rebound?
No, we're just going to make the car change just a little bit.
Gonna make the thing just a little bit looser?
Yeah.
Trying to loosen it up by changing the shock absorber. Huh. All right. Okay, Jerry, punch to you.
Benny, we've had our first incident of the day. It didn't take very long. Take a look at Jimmy Spencer's Ford Thunderbird. The Smokin' Joe's camel-powered T-Bird has smacked the wall coming out of turn 2 about a lap or 2 ago. And Spencer and the team actually tested here last week and so we can catch someone in the garage. Cecil Gordon? Cecil's the crew chief on the car. Cecil, you took a look at the cars that came in. How bad's the car hurt?
Well, we're going to get it up on 4 stands, and we're going to take a look at the trailing arms and the ball joints and stuff, but it's not real bad. I think we can fix it. It's no problem. We won't have to go to a backup car.
You think the heat may have had a factor as far as the track being so warm out there? We just showed that it's over 130 degrees back here in the garage area.
Well, I know it's real warm, but, you know, I don't know. I haven't talked to Jimmy yet, but it's his first lap out on the racetrack. He might just got a little loose stuff and got up a little high.
Well, we'll let you go get to work. We'll have a replay of what happened, and we'll meanwhile try to get over and get a bite with Jimmy Spencer.
Well, here it is, Ned. Now, you'll remember that Jimmy was the first to crash here during the race last year, so overall, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway hasn't been all that kind to Jimmy, sliding up into the wall.
Yep, he just gets a little bit loose getting up towards the wall there and couldn't get it corrected and get it off the wall.
he didn't look like he was too high out of the groove until the very last moment. It just didn't turn quite quick enough, and he brushed the wall in the short chute. Jerry?
And we have caught up with Jimmy Spencer. And Jimmy, we just showed the replay. He looked to be in good position on the racetrack, and the car suddenly just shoots toward the wall. What happened?
Just went in, got the throttle way too quick, and couldn't get it to turn, you know, and just messed up, made a big mistake, you know, and did a lot of damage to the right side of the car. We don't want to have to go to a backup or anything like that, but driver error, man.
Driver error. He manages to smile and walk away, but they've got some work to do here prior to qualifying. Remember now, with the extra day, last year this would have been very, very devastating to this team, but with the extra day, they get 1 day to work on the car prior to qualifying tomorrow afternoon.
So Jimmy Spencer in the wall for the first casualty of the week so far. Mark Martin is resting comfortably after a few laps out on the racetrack. And when we come back with more practice from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for Saturday's Brickyard 400, we will talk with Mark Martin. The Citgo Ford, driven by Morgan Shepherd, is on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for practice for Saturday's Brickyard 400. Now, we got a lot of programming coming up from not only here at the big Speedway, but also Indianapolis Raceway Park. Let's review some of that. We'll have qualifying, of course, here tomorrow and Friday. Tonight at Indianapolis Raceway Park, the USAC Silver Crown and Midgets will be performing at Raceway Park. That's on the Deuce at 8:30 tonight Eastern Time. Then tomorrow, qualifying at 3 o'clock on ESPN. That's Eastern Time. The Super Trucks race at IRP at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Then we've got the Busch Grand National race coming up from Indianapolis Raceway Park on Friday night at 9 o'clock. A Speed Week special at 8:30. We'll have a special preview, Benny Parsons and I, at 7:30 from here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So this is the place to be. ESPN and ESPN2, the place to be for all of the Brickyard coverage, including Saturday, a special 1-hour pre-race show at noon Eastern Time. And then, of course, ABC will have the coverage of the second annual Brickyard 400 at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Morgan Shepherd continues to practice out on the Speedway. Once again, the fastest speed that we have seen turned in by Jeff Gordon at 169.5 miles an hour. John Andretti has the second quickest lap at 169.3. And let's see, Morgan Shepherd's best is 167.4 miles an hour. There you can see his trap speeds. And Ned, we have to say that to compare all of this, the pole speed last year was above 172 miles an hour. So it looks like the speeds are going to be about there again this year.
It'll be somewhere in the same area, Bob, but the fact that it is some 15 to 20 degrees hotter will make a difference in the speed on the racetrack. Of course, they're not in true qualifying form right now in this practice session, so they should pick up once they go out to qualify tomorrow. And there again, it'll depend a great deal on the weather, how hot it is, and what kind of a number they draw for qualifying. I think this year that most of the drivers would like to draw an early number. Since qualifying has been moved to an earlier time in the afternoon, they would like to go early.
Yeah, let's explain a little bit more on this weather situation. This racetrack lies exactly north and south. And so during the late afternoon, when the sun gets low in the western sky, it goes behind the main grandstand, which is now on the left part of your screen. The sun goes down over those grandstands, and the shadow cast across the main straightaway cools the track dramatically. And that's why most everybody, unless they're going for the pole position, will wait until the latter part of the afternoon, at least during the Indianapolis 500. We'll wait till the later part of the afternoon to see the track cool off, and speeds will increase at that time. But here tomorrow, the qualifying starts at 1 o'clock. That will not be a factor. BP?
Okay, we talked to the Valvoline crew. They're trying to loosen the car up just a little bit ago. Steve and Mark are back here, and I know they're deep in discussion trying to figure out what to do with the car. Let's just kind of eavesdrop.
He drive that mortal hell out of it. And she said, would he be good in that car? I said, he'd fly around that place in that car. You should have done it, man.
Who?
We're talking about the Robbie Gordon's Indy car up at...
He should have drove Robbie's car last weekend.
Robbie had to sit out.
Were you offered the ride?
Yeah, but Jack wasn't around to tell me I couldn't do it, so I almost did it. But
wow, an Indy car, really?
I think I could have drove it. They were sure riding me hard, the guys from Valvoline and Derek Walker and all, but I'm scared.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you. You got good sense, that's for sure. Hey, I read someplace that last year you didn't think the Brickyard 400 was such a big deal, but this year it's a big deal to you.
It's a big deal, man. We want to win this thing bad. We've worked really hard on our stuff, and we came here and tested, which we didn't even test last year. for the Brickyard. So, you know, we're putting for the winter, it's like the greatest thing in the world. For the rest of them, you know, they'll just load up and go home Saturday night. But we want to be the winner.
How was practice, first lap of practice, Steve?
Oh, it's about like usual. Jeff Gordon's a half-second quicker than we are, so it's everything's status quo. But we hadn't got tuned up yet, and we have to hope that maybe he's all set and got last year's set up, and he's ready to go a little bit quicker than we are. But we're working on it. We got a real good engine and a good car, and Mark's all fired up, so we'll be in real good shape come race day.
Rear spoiler change, and you didn't test with the 65-degree spoiler, did you, guys?
I'm not really sure what that's going to do other than put us about where we would probably like to run ours anyway, so put everybody else there. You know, one thing we know for sure, nobody's going to be running a less spoiler than us this week, so we don't have to deal with that equation.
Nobody will be running more than 65 degrees, will they, Steve?
Oh, they might once the race starts. You know, you get them all lined up, you can kind of throw away the straightaway speed. It's how they get through the corners. I don't think anybody run more than 68 or 69, maybe 70, but they'll be glad they got that 65 back there for racing for sure.
I saw Jack Roush a minute ago. Where'd he go to? Well, I guess he left. I was going to ask him if next time it presents itself, if you can go ahead and drive that IndyCar.
You can ask him. I don't even think I'll ask him.
We won't ask him. I can ask him, though.
Yeah, you can ask him.
I'll ask him.
Okay.
I'll let you know what he said.
Okay.
Okay, Bob?
Well, that's interesting that they were thinking about him taking over that IndyCar right after Robbie crashed last week and couldn't participate in the Michigan 500.
Yeah.
Kenny Schrader is back here, and Ned, he has had a terrible season. First of all, he was sick during the winter. He lost part of a finger in an incident in the garage area, and now this last weekend at Talladega. You can see just slight contact between Schrader and his teammate Jeff Gordon. He was hit by Ricky Craven. That lifted the car off the racetrack, and that's what happened.
And it got on its top, and then it rolls, and it rolls. 5 times it did. The Budweiser Chevrolet taking a tremendous beating. You can see pieces flying off it. You wonder how Schrader's doing inside that car. But one good thing about this kind of a crash, you know, it didn't hit a wall or anything real hard. It was absorbing a lot of his energy up there rolling around.
And you can see about the only thing that he came out of that crash with was a bruised or a blackened eye. And here is Jerry to talk with him.
And we are back in Gasoline Alley, back in the garage area with Kenny. Kenny, we just showed people again, everyone cringed at home watching that tumble you took at Talladega. First of all, how you doing?
We're fine. Ready to go play.
Always answers me. Now, the eye, unbelievably, the eye was the only significant injury. People would comment later in the week that you'd broken this, you'd broken your collarbone or separated the shoulder, but really there were no other injuries.
No, we just kind of got bruised up all over, and I guess I strained a bunch of stuff in here. The chest hurts the worst. The eye was nothing. I guess it was just some blood vessels or something and filled it up. It never actually hit anything. We had a new full-face Simpson helmet on it. It did perfect, you know. Shield never came up. No, nothing at all. It just centrifugal force broke the blood vessels.
So people were saying that, hey, you hit the steering wheel or you hit a roll bar. That's not the case at all, just the force.
I kept banging my head off the steering wheel just because I kind of pretend I was in a sprint car, and I grabbed a hold of the bottom wheel and just crunched up and got my head down. So I did keep banging my head off the steering wheel, but, you know, nothing that actually hit my eye. I mean, it was never even sore.
What goes through your mind as a driver when you've taken some of those tumbles? And obviously you don't want to ever take another one, but when something starts to happen, do you feel the car begin to lift, and do you have time to think about where you need to put your arms and your head and everything?
Well, you know, it first started up, and it's like, shoot, you know, this is going to ruin the day. Just going to get up, and the roof flaps are going to open. I'm going to slide down. A couple guys going to hit us and be done. And then it kept getting higher, and I said, uh-oh, you know. So it's time to reposition. So you took your hands from the side of the steering wheel, put them on the bottom. I just crunched my head down as high as I could, and you just wait. I mean, the turning over is nothing at all. It's them landings in between that are just really tough, and you just kept waiting for the last landing.
Now, you people may not realize it, matter that you've gone to a hospital that night, but you actually drove with some friends to St. Louis after that race at Talladega.
I didn't do a whole bunch of driving. My friends did the driving. I just kind of rode. But, yeah, we went to St. Louis, and a friend of mine, Harlan Hunter from St. Louis, checked us all out Monday, and we wound up racing Wednesday.
Now, we're back here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You've been out on the track and run some laps. What is the surface like out there? What are we talking about? We talked that it's pretty doggone warm.
Yeah, the surface here is always smooth and stuff. It's just the temperature so much, and as warm as it is right now, you know, the track's a little bit slower. With qualifying this year, starting at 1, potentially probably being over around 3 or so, I think your luck of the draw is not going to be near as much a factor. Everybody's going to have about a pretty equal shot at it.
And this guy, if we were qualifying a year ago, he would have a great spot. He's going to be one of the last cars to go out. I think he drew 48th to 49th, but now this year, as you heard, qualifying as earlier. Kenny, good to see you back, and good luck to you.
Thank you much. Pleasure to be here.
Bob?
Kenny's best lap, 167.9 so far today. The best by Jeff Gordon at 169.5. There's Sterling Marlin on the racetrack. He's running 167.8. And Ned, if there was a surprise, and I think there are many that we could discuss about the 95 season, but I think this is one of the big surprises, and that's taking nothing away from Sterling Marlin. But after he won Daytona last year, he kind of fizzled. This year, he has been one of the most consistent. As a matter of fact, he's all the way up to second in points and just a few out of the lead. He's only 78 out of the lead.
Well, I think that's one of the things that Tony Glover, the crew chief, and Larry McClure, the car owner, and the others on that team worked on during the winter was the consistency. They were fast. Yes, they won the Daytona 500 in 1994, and as you said, they sort of fizzled as far as running up front and leading a lot of races, and certainly didn't win anymore last year, and that's something they know that they needed to work on. So they came back and won the Daytona 500 this year, and they've added 2 other events to it, and are right there in the point standings, and I think it's just a concentrated effort on the whole team's part to get them to where they can be more consistent, because that's what you got to have to win a championship.
Well, there's a guy who finished 12th in the inaugural Brickyard 400 last year, Terry Labonte, out there in the Kellogg's Cornflakes car. And we're seeing a lot of taped off grills for a couple of laps, and they come in and take it off. And we'll talk more about that when we come back. We're covering live for you from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway here on ESPN2. Practice for the Brickyard 400. We are back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with Ned Jarrett, Penny Parsons, John Kernan, and Dr. Jerry Punch. This is practice for Saturday's Brickyard 400. Before that, though, of course, they will qualify tomorrow beginning at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And here is the man who sat on the pole for last year's race. Now, there are his trap speeds on the warm-up lap, and I'm sure they're going to improve this time. Ned, there's 189 at the end of the front stretch.
Yeah, he's picking it up considerably now. He just wanted to sort of get the feel of the track and sort of reacquaint himself really with the racetrack. But I think Rick surprised a lot of people here by winning the pole a year ago, but he had a very strong race car in the race as well, and very early in the race he lost a cylinder and just had to putter around all day long. But he's going to come back here and prove that he could get around this place again, and looks forward to the qualifying tomorrow as well as the race on Saturday.
That last lap there, 123.7, was a warm-up lap. This will be much better. Rick started first, of course, on the pole. He finished in 22nd position. One other thing, Ned, that you have to mention when you talk about Rick's pole-sitting effort last year was the fact that last year there were 2 tire companies here, and he was on the Hoosiers. This year, of course, only Goodyear.
And, of course, the tires perhaps are a little bit harder this year than they were last year as a result of there not being competition. Boy, he picked it up, 169.036.
Yeah,
that's going to put him up there close with Jeff Gordon.
Sure is. I think it's going to put him 4th so far. Jeff Gordon is the fastest. John Andretti 2nd. Bobby Hamilton 3rd. Rick Mast has just turned the 4th fastest lap of the day. Here's John Kernan.
Bob, I decided that, I'd been taking long enough of breaks, so I came back out here on pit road just check out the temperatures. Actually, I had a little problem with my headset and stuff, but we've got it all solved. Talked to the Goodyear engineers. They said whenever practice got underway, track temperature right around 136 degrees. About 5 minutes ago, I was talking to a member of Rick Mast's team. They said their last measurement, get this, 144 degrees on the asphalt out here on pit road. One other note about qualifying tomorrow, the #1 driver to make an attempt scheduled is Derek Cope. Brad Parrott, I should say, did the drawing for him. Now, the reason I bring that up is you get the first car to attempt a qualifying run here gets a $5,000 bonus. So Brad tells me that that is actually going to be his bonus, because after Derek found out that he drew the #1 spot for qualifying tomorrow, that he had fired him, and he's got to use that $5,000 to get home. But no, he's just joking about that. Derek Cope drawing the #1 spot for tomorrow's qualifying.
Wait a minute. I was supposed to be talking. I'm sorry. I was drinking. I am here with the guy who's been winning everything this year. No, not everything.
No, not everything. Not everything.
Only one. But you know what? You think it gets sick and tired of winning. He goes out. Yesterday we were playing a little guy. John, what are you doing in the picture here? Get out of the way. We're doing television here. We go out and play a little golf tournament yesterday, and guess who wins? Do you have to win everything?
Well, I mean, I don't like to lose, but I had a pretty good team, didn't I? I mean, I didn't have anything to do with the win because I sure did not contribute much, and I only played 10 holes. So, you know, those guys, they were handicapped the last 8 or 9.
But Jeff, when I looked up on the board and it said the winning team, it had Jeff Gordon's name right at the top. Ray, does this guy always want to win?
Yeah, thank God. I mean, we want him to win. I don't ever want him to start to lose.
What's that toy you're playing with?
Oh, this is actually replaced Mike Belden. You know, I always send Mike Belden out on the front straightaway to take times for us, and now we've got this little machine, you know, and it costs about half as much as Mike did, so I'm trying to get it to do the rest of the times. But what it does, Benny, is it just gives us constant updates on what the cars ran, what laps, where the fastest, what's the top 10. It's a pretty good deal. It's a kind of a satellite thing. Not only that, we get baseball scores, basketball. What do you need to know?
Who's going to drive the truck?
Well, that's one thing. We have a problem with it. We never thought of that, guys. I don't know. Can any of you guys drive a truck?
See, they thought they'd get rid of Mike Belton. He's the truck driver. You got to have him.
Oh, we're not going to get rid of Mike, but he gets a little break from this heat like the rest of us. We get to sit in here and stay kind of cool when in this hot heat, but thank goodness he's not out there keeping time.
Why aren't you out there running around the racetrack?
Well, kind of like you know, we got 4 or 5 hours to do all this stuff in, and you know, today is just practice. Tomorrow is when we get really serious, and today we're going to go out there, and we've already shook the car down one time, and it felt pretty good. We're going to go out there and probably make a couple more laps before the day's over, but 4 hours is a long time, and we don't even qualify today, so we don't do the real stuff until tomorrow.
What'd you change after that first practice run, Ray?
We're not going to change anything. My little buddy here, I said, what do you need? He said, I just need to go run another lap before we can make a decision. So we're just good. That was the first shakedown. We got a plug check, and now we're going to go run it again and make some changes from there.
Okay, Jerry Punch, who you caught up with?
We're over in the McDonald's garage, and behind me, Bill Elliott is talking with crew chief Mike Beam. In fact, they have co-crew chiefs here, Mike Beam and Tony Gibson, working together. And boy, what a difference this team is in the second half of the season. We saw them at Daytona in the Pepsi 400, and we talked to Bill Elliott after the race. He finished 10th and said, hey, I'm a second half kind of guy. And boy, what a year they have had here. In fact, if you look at the speeds thus far in practice, Bill Elliott, you are about the 5th or 6th fastest car in practice. You've only been out a few laps.
Well, I think everybody is I think that's what you're going to see, because everybody that's gone out, you know, you've got fresh tires, and you're going to see the speeds right now. And as the evening progresses, you're going to see less speed, because NASCAR gives you 3 sets of tires prior to qualifying. So you start on an initial set, that leaves you 2 sets left. You're going to qualify on a set, so that leaves you 1 other set to go out and do a qualifying run on. So it limits the amount of things you're going to do today. So, you know, we've got a lot of practice time, but due to the circumstances, we probably won't run a lot.
Bill, first year back with a new family team. Where are you as far as your goals and your overall plan for the year? I mean, the team, I know, struggled early, but you've really come on. Are you on schedule now?
Well, I don't know if you're ever on schedule. You know, I'd like to have already won 10 or 12 races, you know, and we've only gone through, 15 or 18 or so. But, you know, in this business, it's a matter of kind of where your performance is. You know, we sat on a pole, we ran well at Pocono, we came back to Talladega, we qualified bad, but we concentrated on the race, and we ran well in the race. And that's where we need to strive, is if we can be competitive, then I can walk out of here with a feel of accomplishment at the end of the day. And that's, you know, that's for this whole McDonald's crowd. I mean, if we come out here and be competitive and be in the thick of things, you know, you're going to put yourself an opportunity to win some races, and that's where we need to be right now.
Now, you did something, it took a little bit of a gamble. You had a team, an organization already in Georgia, and yet you brought on Mike Beam, who was a very special friend and a very, very good chassis man in Hickory to build race cars.
Well, you know, Mike and I have had a good relationship over the last several years. You know, he and I worked in juniors for the last 2 years and worked with me in 90 down in Dawsonville. You know, and I felt like that, you know, everybody runs motors, and I felt like in order to get ahead, we need to do something a little bit different, a little bit unique, and we needed a space, so we tried that deal.
Well, Bill Elliott right now, back-to-back top 5 finishes, back-to-back top 5s at Talladega, Pocono, and obviously this team has got to be sky high, as well as the folks at McDonald's. They got to be tickled.
Well, I feel like we still got some areas we're still weak in, and we're trying to work through that. But you know, we started out the year one way and we went a total 180 degrees. So, you know, we built new cars and strived on different things, and we've really come a long way in a short period of time and still tried to race each and every week. So, you know, we still got some things to do. You know, McDonald's has stuck with us. They've been a super good sponsor. You know, we just hope we continue the effort through the rest of the year.
Got to ask you, how does this work? I mean, 9 times most popular driver. What is the hold that Bill Elliott has on the race fans?
Well, I've just been very fortunate. I've been the kind of guy that, you know, I've had good fans and they've stuck with me through thick and thin and kind of been able to support me through everything I've done, and that's what makes the difference.
That's Bill Elliott, and he will be a factor for the Brickyard 400. Bob?
He was a factor last year, finished 3rd in this race after starting in 6th position. The practice continues here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Brickyard 400. There is Dick Trickle taking some laps in the Quality Care Ford. And when we come back, we'll continue to cover practice and talk with P.J. Jones. Stay with us. Well, the light is green here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but I don't think anybody's out there for practice right now. We're getting ready for tomorrow night on ESPN, the NASCAR Super Truck race, the Trading Cards 150 at Indianapolis Raceway Park, and our live coverage will be at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And one of the drivers in that series and in the race tomorrow is P.J. Jones. How you doing?
Great, great. I think I'll be there tomorrow.
Are you going to be there?
Yeah.
But you're not doing the Silver Crown race tonight?
No, that's... You know, when a few years back when I started driving for Toyota, they felt that it was probably better that I didn't do too many of those kind of things.
Tell me about the Super Truck season that you've had so far.
Well, the Die Hard team, we've had a tough year, you know, at it. We came out on bias ply tires at winter heat and through the exhibition races, and we're running real well. And our crew and our team, and that's, you know, we really had a lot of experience with that type. We went to radials, and we've kind of just haven't quite got the, you know, just missing it by this much, and it seems like we haven't had very good luck either lately. So we're hoping to turn that around. You know, we went to the road race last week and had some training problems in practice, missed a lot of practice. And just during a race, I was trying to pass Mike Bliss and got underneath him. Didn't quite get far enough. We both spun running about 6th and 7th. And so we just, little things have been plaguing us that we just can't seem to get around.
Looks like you're having fun out there.
Oh, we're definitely having fun. I mean, the Super Truck Series has been a blast. I mean, it's been something that it's grown so quickly. NASCAR's done such a great job promoting it and making it the series what it is today.
Everyone has been concerned about Page. How's he doing now?
You know, Page is doing great. I mean, he's in the last few months, I mean, we've seen just remarkable improvement. I mean, he won't shut up. He's just motor mouth now, which, you know, we're getting a kick out of. He's quite, you know, a lot of fun to go and visit and be around.
We've heard that he and Stan Fox have been conversing on the phone.
Well, yeah, you know, I haven't heard that, but of course I haven't been home in 3 or 4 weeks, so that could be very possible.
All right, now tell me about your future. You're in the Super Truck Series this year. Might we see you back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway during the month of May next year?
Well, you know, I'd like to. You know, obviously my dad and family have a lot of, you know, been in this race before and won the race, and I'd definitely, you know, like to be up there, you know, racing in the Indianapolis 500. And it's, you know, I'm enjoying NASCAR and I'm enjoying stock car racing too. It just seems right now that maybe my best opportunity is with Dan Gurney and Toyota. And, you know, we're still in a development process, and hopefully we'll be racing next year in May.
Did you try to find a ride for the Brickyard?
No, not really. You know, I've been so involved in the Super Truck Series, and it's something that if I come back and do some more Winston Cup races, you know, I want it to be with a top team, a team that really has a chance to win. And I've been with some other rides, and it's just, you know, you're always struggling for that, you know, maybe another set of tires or something that the team can't afford, or some more testing. And I think you know, you deny yourself a lot of opportunity if you go, you know, maybe not totally equipped to run up front.
Hang on, if you will. In the meantime, let's go to Benny, who's with Dale Earnhardt.
I've been doing autographs.
How come you haven't practiced yet?
Well, I had lunch and took a nap.
Had lunch and took a nap? Had lunch and didn't invite me?
It was light lunch.
That's okay.
I missed much.
I'm into light lunches, too.
When?
That's a good question. Where are you going, to the car?
I'm going to try to run a lap.
You going to try a lap? Can I go with you? Come on, let's go.
Too much right side weight.
Couldn't stand the right side weight? How much weight you got in the right side of that car?
Not enough. That's a brand new race car, and we hadn't got the weight in the car we'd like to have. But it's still a better race car than what we had.
A brand new race car, this racetrack?
This everywhere.
Everywhere?
It's a brand new car. And we did that because we had some cars that we felt were a little heavier than some of the other ones when they changed the weight rule. And we've been working trying to get our cars down a little bit and put them on a diet. And this is our best car, so that we just put together. So we wanted to bring it here, and we're going to run it here and probably Michigan, some other places.
Hey, they're making that number 8 an uphill battle, aren't they?
Yeah, we are.
Man, I'm telling
you. Gordon's running strong, but we've been competitive, but just still we had things happen to us like happened in Pocono and the wreck at Michigan and, you know, the thing in New Hampshire with the tire being, you know, loose. And you can't make mistakes and win championships. You know that.
Yeah. Well, quit making them.
I'm going to go practice.
He's going to make them.
I got my nerves up there.
Look at the crowd this guy draws, folks. Look at him. Look at him everywhere. Man, oh, man. Pied Piper, Bob.
Looked like he was conducting a news conference there with all the media around him, but that's what you get when you're a 7-time Winston Cup champion. Little police protection there also.
Yeah, when he walks out through the garage area, they don't get to see him that much because he's always busy, and of course he's usually out on the race track with that race car or either talking with the crew or something like that. So it gets sort of hectic, PJ.
Yeah, well, when you're a 7-time or, you know, Winston Cup champion and as awesome as he is, you know, everybody wants a piece of him.
Do you as a young driver, do you look up to a guy like Dale Earnhardt?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you know, to be, what I think is so remarkable about him is just his consistency. You see a lot of guys up at the front here and there and winning races here and there, but I mean, he's been doing this for the last, you know, before I can remember, and he's always up front. He's always the guy that if he's in the back of the pack, you know he's going to the front of the pack.
And I'm sure the opportunities that you've had, you've run in a few Winston Cup races to race against a guy like that, knowing that he probably has better equipment and certainly a lot more of the experience, but still it's good experience for you to go out there and race against him.
Oh, it definitely. I mean, there's your mark. There's your benchmark, you know. And I see a lot of Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon. You know, I mean, he's now kind of the new young guy that is gonna, I think, someday gonna replace Dale Earnhardt. I mean, he's a guy that's now starting in the back and is always getting to the front and always leading the races. I think has led the most races this year, the most laps this year, and you know, that's pretty awesome for a kid that's 24 years old. And you know, we grew up racing midgets together and banging wheels on the short track. So,
well, I'm sure you're happy for him. We see Kyle Petty out there in the Coors Light Pontiac. Some pretty good times there, Bob.
Yeah, 166.7 was the last lap. This one's probably going to be a little bit quicker. PJ, thanks very much for stopping by, and we'll be watching it tomorrow night at IRP in the truck race.
Well, appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and just root us on tomorrow in that Die Hard #1.
We'll be there.
Good luck.
PJ Jones as Kyle Petty brings the Coors Light Pontiac into the pit area. And so that lap is probably going to be, of course, slower than last lap. Here's Jerry Punch with Ricky Rudd.
And Ricky standing back in the garage area. Now, ordinarily on the first day of practice at a racetrack, there's so much thrashing going on, people throwing springs, and these guys are sort of laid back here, relaxing, looking at the air pressures. Why the easy pace?
Well, a little bit, I say, well, most of it is because of the way NASCAR works their tire rule situation. You're only allowed 3 sets of tires from when we first roll in the gate, which normally works out good, but we're here an extra day. To make a long story short, if you end up getting too aggressive at practice, not giving the car good cool down time between runs, staying on a single set of tires, you'll get a false reading. You'll actually go out on a racetrack with an extra 10 pounds of air in the tire, and you'll think the car is slipping and sliding because of the last chassis adjustment you made, but in fact, the main reason it's slipping and sliding is strictly because of the extra air pressure buildup. You didn't give it time enough to cool the tires down to get the pressures back down. So you got to be careful not to over-engineer yourself a little bit.
Now, you're known as a thinking man's race driver. A lot of people said, you know, Ricky Rudd is very calculating on the racetrack. You haven't been out yet. Why are you waiting to go out and run some hot laps?
Well, we've been out. We had a slight vibration, so we came right back in. The guys worked on it. We're getting ready to go out and make our first run. But, again, it's hard to get too aggressive with really this only 1 set of tires. And it's fair for everybody. Everyone's sitting here with this 1 set of tires on their car right now. But if you get too aggressive, again, you can end up getting a false read on your chassis. And actually, you could have a pole contender car sitting right here. This Tide Downey 4 could be the pole contender. We could go out and make multiple runs with the hot tires and actually adjust the car to the point where we're 10th or 15th place car. So you gotta use your head a little bit, not over-engineer.
As we leave and go back to the racetrack, I might mention Ricky Rudd announced an associate sponsor, Whirlpool, for next year. So Tide, Downey, and even going to have washing machines on pit road with the Whirlpool folks, Bob.
And the big announcement here at the Speedway yesterday was sponsorship on this car, Motorola. The driver is A.J. Foyt, trying once again to get into the Brickyard 400. He was in last year, of course, coming out of retirement, and he's back again. Last lap, 151.1, so he's going to have to pick it up considerably. That was a warm-up lap there that he had last time around. Well, Richard Childress has joined us here in our broadcast position, and I got news for you, Richard. Your driver, Dale, is still taking it easy back there. You better go over and tell him to get out there and get some practice in.
Yeah, we're we've decided to hold off a little bit, as you heard Ricky Rudd saying. Most of the teams only have we've got the one set of tires to run, and we want to conserve what time we put on them and try to get the most out of them.
One thing I think race fans would find interesting, Dale talked about how this is a new car and they're just dialing it in. How many cars do you have in the Richard Childress garage?
At this point, we have 9 cars, and we're building 2 new ones to make our final championship run with. We're building a new short track car, a new car for Atlanta and Charlotte, those tracks.
Did you come here and test?
Yeah, we tested, and we left here with a lot of ideas, but everyone had to test on like the Pocono style tire, and you couldn't really get a good feel for where you're going to be here. So we didn't come back. We thought about coming back, but with the tire situation, we just stayed with that test.
Well, I wondered about that. How valid was the test, since it is a different tire? And also the spoiler rule. Now, is that going to affect the setup much?
I don't think it wouldn't affect us, because we were sitting there with 65 degrees the whole time.
Okay.
And we tried to get a balance on the car and try to figure out some things. And I think it can be a plus coming in to building this new car. We learn a lot of stuff, so hopefully it'll pay off.
Now, you're here for, of course, the Brickyard 400, the main reason you're here, but you also got that truck running tomorrow night out at Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Right, yeah, we're going out there. All the team, some of these guys on the team haven't seen it run before, and anyone that hadn't seen one of those super truck races, they're missing a show. I'm looking forward to it. Mike Skinner's doing a great job. Jim Goodwrench, it's number 3 black, just like our Winston Cup car. So it's going to be a fun deal.
Now, you seem to be having fun at that business, because you make a special effort and sometimes have to go really out of your way to get to one of those trucks, flying all the way across the country, sometimes just to see that truck run.
Yeah, I want to show the guys on that team the support, and I'm a race fan too. Besides being an owner, I'm still a race fan at heart.
Well, we appreciate you coming out here and talking to us, because we know that Dale Earnhardt is about to go out here before too long. And
hang on a second.
You want to
hang on a second. We'll go to Benny here, who I think's down there with Dale as he's about to go out. You there, BP?
Yeah. Hey, Andy, when you gonna practice?
We're going out right now, Ben.
Who's the boss around here, you or Dale?
Me.
Is that your boss?
Richard Childress.
I was going to say, we got the boss right here.
Yeah. We got the boss over there. Childress is over there. Is he the boss?
Well, I guess he would be, yeah.
I guess he would be. You want Childress?
Where's he at? We don't see him.
He's over talking to Bob Jenkins and Ned Jarrett on our TV set.
In the air conditioning?
No.
It's not air conditioned, believe it or not.
It's amazing. I figured he'd be in the air conditioning somewhere.
No, he's over there in the sun, trying to sell some GM Goodwrench.
Benny, really, the real bosses is Judy Childress and Teresa Earnhardt. If you'll ask Dale, I'm sure he'll agree to that.
He says that the real bosses in this deal is Judy and Teresa. Is that true?
That's definitely the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, the truth comes out.
All right, Dale is about to go on to the racetrack. So, Dale, we'll let you get out there on the racetrack. And, Richard, we will let you get over and see how Dale does out there. Thanks for stopping by, and good luck this weekend, tomorrow night and on Saturday.
Thanks, guys. They'll do a great job.
All right. Richard Childress, the owner of the GM Goodwrench number 3, driven by Dale Earnhardt, and the super truck driven by Mike Skinner. More from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in a moment. At the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's Jeff Gordon, the defending champion of the Brickyard 400, on the racetrack for some practice. He has the fastest speed of the day, 169.543, and without question, 1995, he has been the leader of the pack. 7 poles, 5 wins. He led 34% of the laps, 35% of the miles, and he has collected, and this is very important, Ed, when you're looking at the Winston Cup Championship, 130 bonus points, and the bonus points, of course, are awarded for leading a lap and leading the most. Now look at the trap speeds. He's turned 192 at the end of the front stretch.
Yeah, that's the fastest we have seen so far. When Benny talked to he and Ray Evernham, his crew chief, a little bit earlier, they of course had been out and made a good lap and sort of evaluated things, didn't make any changes on the car, and he decided to go out and stand on it this time. So he's looks like has a good lap going.
What do you tape him off and then just go for the couple of laps to see what kind of speed he'll get?
Yeah, that's what you do is you tape it off. And when we're talking about taping it off, we're talking about the grill on the front so it doesn't get as much air in there, makes it more aerodynamic, make it run a little bit faster, but they can only run a couple of laps or the engine would heat up too much because it isn't getting the air in there. But that's the kind of conditions, or one of the conditions that they qualify under, so they like to simulate that as closely as possible.
Let's see what the lap was. It's 169.062, so it's not quite as fast as he has gone today, but it's within a half a mile an hour.
And that's probably because he already has a couple of laps on those tires. And when we've talked about the tire situation and only having 3 sets of tires, we don't mean that the tires wear out in 1 or 2 laps, but when the newness goes off them, then they simply don't run as fast. The tires, once they get heated up, they just don't adhere to the racetrack as well. And it looks like Jeff has shut the DuPont Chevrolet down, but they just simply don't go that fast again.
Now he'll go in and talk to Ray Evernham, the crew chief. You heard him say earlier that they didn't make any changes on the car for this run. So now Jeff will be going into the garage area and talk to Ray and decide if any changes will be made before they go out once again. Before the moment, Jeff Gordon is the fastest so far here today, not on that particular run, but earlier in the day at 169.5. It is Dale Earnhardt who is out there on the racetrack right now. I don't see him in the top 10 in terms of speed yet, but you can bet that he's going to be up to speed before long.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he has run a full high-speed lap yet, Bob. And this is the first time he's been out there this afternoon. We're already a little more than an hour into this practice session, and they're just now going out there. Of course, we have a little bit of an overcast situation here. The sun is not shining brightly down on at least portions of the racetrack. Probably a good time to go out and make some runs. And I think, even though it won't pay anything, whoever runs the fastest here this afternoon, but does a lot for your ego and for your confidence, too.
A lot of psychology involved with coming out of here this evening with the fastest. He has completed the warm-up lap. He's now in turn number 2 on his first practice. Now, the yellow speeds that you see were the speeds on his warm-up lap, and you can see how they're increasing as he is now on a faster official practice lap. At the end of the backstretch, earlier was 174. Now it increases to 180. He's going through turn number 3 at the moment. As you can see, that last lap was only 146.4 miles an hour.
Gordon had run 177 at that 180 that Earnhardt just ran, so he's got a good lap going here, it looks like.
Yep, 189, of course, for Dale at the end of the front stretch, whereas Jeff had a 192. So it's all going to equal out probably, let's see officially, as the speed pivots 168.3. So he's about a mile, 0.2 off of the fastest lap that has been turned today.
And it's interesting to see how one car will run faster on one particular part of the track than another. That has something to do with chassis setup, but it also might have something to do with gearing, where we saw Gordon run 192 miles an hour there, where Earnhardt runs 189 miles an hour. There could be a difference in the gearing there, that maybe they can make that up at some other point of the racetrack. So that's part of what's going on here, though, the practice to see where you need to pick up on the racetrack.
And he has come off of it. He's joined the warm-up lane there in turn number 3 and will be coming into the pits. There are your fastest 5: Jeff Gordon, Lake Speed, John Andretti, Rusty Wallace, and Bobby Hamilton, with just about an hour and 8 minutes of practice completed at the Brickyard. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and practice for the Brickyard 400, Ken Schrader has turned a lap at 167.9 and decided to come off of it. He too is in the warm-up lane off of corner number 4, headed to the pit area. So not a bad lap for Kenny Schrader. Well, one of the guys will be participating in the Busch race that will be on ESPN Friday night at Indianapolis Raceway Park is with John Kernan.
Of course, it's defending Busch Grand National Series champion David Green. And David, after winning the championship last year, you've got one win this year, but man, it's been a big disappointment, a broken shoulder, all kinds of things happening to you this year.
It's been one of those years, John, but one good thing about it, that win that we did get didn't involve Mark Martin having to pull off the racetrack, so that was a pretty good feeling. And but I'm really proud of the Slim Jim team. Each and every guy, the sponsor, after you win a championship, I think it's hard to come back and maybe live up to those expectations, but I was really wound up and ready to go to build upon a better year. But, you know, little boats breaking, little freak things happen. Plug wires. I ran over some big old pieces of debris I should have saw. That, you know, those Goodyear tires are great, but they won't withstand big punctures like I was putting them through. And broke my shoulder about 3 months ago maybe now, and come along real well. But, you know, South Boston was a good race for us last weekend. And I tell you, without Bobby Labonte's support and the Slim Jim people themselves, I would have probably went nuts by now.
Now, I know Bobby's standing by with Jerry. We'll get to him in just a minute. But I got to ask you, you grew up about 3 hours away from here, the Brickyard, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is the first time you've seen it from the inside. What do you think?
It sure is. Growing up in Owensboro, Kentucky, we raced go-karts a lot around Indianapolis. Brownsburg, Brownstown, Huntingburg, just places like that. But I never once thought anything about the Indianapolis 500. Never came to see one. I always watched it, but I never dreamed of myself being there. Then the stock cars came, you know, thanks to NASCAR on that behalf. But yesterday I got the chance to play in the Chevrolet little golf tournament we had. And when we rode through the golf cart underneath the back straightaway into the tracks the first time ever I'd been in. And then today I just wanted to come out here just to see. And it looks so much different than on TV. But, you know, all the NASCAR people are excited. Bobby's excited. The interstate battery car's running good. And, you know, it's just nobody will know till they come here and experience it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, the way I feel about it, Jerry. And by the way, you're standing by with David's car owner, right?
And indeed we are. Thank you, John. Bobby Labonte here, who owns the Busch car. And let me ask you, Bobby, people are wondering what David Green's going to do next year. Do you have any idea? I mean, we didn't ask him. We should ask him. It's rumored that he may drive some more Busch or maybe run Winston Cup. Any thoughts?
Well, I tell you, David's done an awful good job for us in the past, and everybody at Slim Jim's awful proud of him, and I know I am, and you know, I want to keep him in that car, you know, that's for sure. And I think we got everything worked out where I believe we're going to have him in the car for next year, and we basically shook hands on it. So, you know, if nothing else happens, I think we'll have that in place, and looking forward to that.
Hey, now, south of the Mason-Dixon line, a handshake is a contract, so you got a deal, right?
That's right. As far as I know, we got a deal.
And Greg Sachs, we are told, just turned the fastest lap of practice thus far as you watch practice, 169.754. So that's an awfully quick lap as the speeds are coming up. Now, you've been out a little bit, but you're in here in the garage now. Are you just taking it easy, waiting for some time?
Well, we're, you know, letting the tires cool off a little bit. You know, we've run a couple laps, really. And, you know, we got the good out of the tires, I guess you might say. Not really the good out of them, but, you know, got the best part of it. So we made an adjustment on the car because it wasn't quite what we wanted to see. Brought the interstate battery Chevrolet back in, let it sit here for a little bit, made an adjustment, looked at the spark plugs. Now we're ready to go back out.
Now, people may be guessing on this new tire that Goodyear built here, which they finished building just a week ago, but you're the guy who did the tire test for Goodyear here. And what did you find out back in June when you ran those laps?
Well, we ran a lot of laps here, and we tried a lot of different compound tires. And I believe that, you know, they don't really tell you exactly what they're going to bring back till you get back here. But from what we ran, I think this is the tire that we felt the most comfortable with. It's a little tighter tire than we tested, than most everybody tested here during the last 2 or 3 weeks. But seemed like it was going to be a little bit more racy tire. So hopefully that everybody will like it, and we'll go from there.
Now, they say Jeff Gordon is the favorite son here because he grew up in nearby Pittsboro, Indiana, but there's going to be an uproar when this guy comes out to be introduced on Sunday, too, and let me tell you why. Let me show you behind Bobby Labonte. This is the helmet he will wear on Saturday in the Brickyard. Joe Gibbs, the NFL Properties sponsorship, and every week they wear a different NFL helmet. Indianapolis Colts, who, by the way, play their first exhibition game Friday night on the eve of the Brickyard, so maybe that's an omen for you, Bobby.
I hope so.
Let's go to the center of our team. Here's Benny Parsons. Benny?
Well, thank you very much. Hey, folks, you saw that toy that Ray Evernham was playing with? I've been looking all over for me a toy, and they said, here's the place. News pager, Jim Ellis. You Jim Ellis?
Jim Ellis.
Hey, good to see you. What's the toy? Tell me about this toy.
It's an alphanumeric pager that we've developed about 4 years ago. We've introduced it to do the sports nationwide for Indianapolis motorsports and for all car industry, hoping to go nationwide with all sports.
How's it work?
It works very well. We get from here, the guys are getting their lap times, they're getting their trap speeds, they're getting their corner times. They can tell where they are with any relation to any other car that's on the track. We get a feed directly from USAC, giving the live times and trap speeds for the cars. We transmit it locally within a 25-mile radius. So you can get your times. We can also get sports data in the evening if people want to get the ball scores or something like that.
So Earnhardt could take a nap. He could wake up and get the pager and see if he's been beaten, right?
You can watch any car that's on the track, their times and their trap speeds.
All right, tell me how this thing works.
Well, you turn it on, and you've got the fastest lap of the day.
Who is that?
Right now, it's Sachs is 169.754. Then you can go down the top 10 cars. Sachs. Then you've got Jeff Gordon's down 169.543. You go right on down through the top 10 like this, and then you can go in and you can select any car you want. That's done. All right, Mast's last lap was 53 seconds. His time was 169. He's got a turn time of 157 miles an hour through the corners. And then it tells you the last 7 laps that he's been on, his time and his speed. It tells you when he came into the trap speed. Then you can also get your qualifying times and position standings. Then when you go in a race, you have another database that'll also give you race standings and how many seconds he's behind the leader or how many laps he's behind.
How's the stock market doing today?
You can look out on this and find out also.
Really? All right. Hey, what a machine. I got to have me one of these. Jim, we've got to talk a deal.
All right, we'll talk a deal.
We'll be back in a minute. Right now, we're dealing.
All right, we'll let you two swing a deal there and get one of those pagers. Meanwhile, the practice continues on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Bobby Hamilton's out there. We'll be back in just a moment with a legend in racing and here at the Brickyard. There are your top 5 speeds so far in practice after about an hour and 20 minutes worth. Greg Sachs at the top of the list, 169.7. Jeff Gordon is at 169.5. And down through the top 5, you've got Rusty Wallace and Bobby Hamilton, Rick Mast, Bobby Hillen, Jeff Burton, Ken Schrader. Here is Bill Elliott, who is on the racetrack in the McDonald's Ford. And his last lap was 169.4, Ned, so they're coming up.
Yeah, that's going to put him right up there in 3rd position right now. And we wonder, Bob, if, of course, we have a little bit of an overcast now, but we also wonder if he had on a new set of tires or if he just made that much of an improvement. He was like 11th position as far as speeds were concerned before this particular run, but now he's up there 3rd fastest.
Yeah, there is quite an overcast right now, so I don't think the track temperature is quite as bad as it was maybe an hour ago, and so that may account for some of the speeds going up, but a really good lap for Bill Elliott. Joining us here in our position in the garage area is a legend in auto racing and here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. When I first started coming here, I used to watch the gold and black cars owned by and chief mechanic by a guy named Smokey Unick, and I always wondered who in the world Smokey Unick was. And now we get a chance to talk with him here. Smokey, it's good to see you, and thanks for stopping by here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
When was the first time that you came here for any reason to Indianapolis?
1955. I came here as a gopher for Lindsey Hopkins. Jack Beckley was the chief mechanic, and I believe maybe Jim Raffin might have been the driver.
Good familiar names there that bring back a lot of memories. We want you to hang on, but we do want to go right now to Dr. Jerry Punch, who's with the guy who has turned in the fastest lap so far. Jerry?
169.754, and you can tell the smile on Greg Sachs' face tells the whole story. And Greg, you went out. You haven't had many laps, but boy, what a lap that one was.
That was our first lap, actually. I ran around one slow lap to warm up the oil and get everything ready, get a plug check. And that was our first hard lap with it blocked up. And that's a qualifying type run. We tested here last week. We were real confident in the car. And we're looking to put on a good show for Finalube.
And people may want to know now, who's Greg Sachs driving for? You started out, you had the 40 car, the 27 car Daytona, but this is Dean Meyer's car with some pretty good veterans on the team.
We sure do. We've got Doug Williams turning all the screws and putting the springs under the car for me, and Ken Wilson's the engine man. We've got some help from Richard Childress in the engine department here for this week. We don't leave that out. You know, he's given us a lot of help, and we look forward to a great weekend.
Now, wait a minute. You got an RC motor in there along with Kenny Wilson. You got some horsepower working for you.
Yeah, Dean hasn't left anything on the table. You know, he's letting it all ride right here. He called me up and said, we're really going to go up there and give you everything you need to put on a good show. We'd like to have you behind the wheel, and we put all this together, and I think it's going to be great. You know, I'm really glad to have Finalube along with us, and look for an exciting Saturday in the Brickyard.
Now, what's the deal after this? They called you last week, said to come test, and you came up and you ran some laps. They were impressed. You're here to drive the car for the Brickyard. What about after this race?
I don't know what I'm going to do really after this race, Jerry. I've been talking with a couple other teams that are looking at running me the balance of the year, starting at Michigan. And just exactly where I'm going to be, I don't know, but I will be in a car for the balance of the year.
All right, we'll have to wait and see what Greg Sachs is going to do. But right now, he is the fastest car in practice, over 169.7. Let's go to John Kernan.
Jerry, last year in the Indy 500, John Andretti started 10th, finished 10th. Then in the Brickyard 400, started 28th, finished 28th. And I'm standing with him right now. How are you going to follow that up this year, you figure?
Well, since I'm consistent, I hope I start on the pole, and then we'll see what happens after that. But Kmart and Little Caesars car is running great, and we've only gone out and done one lap this morning, and gonna make some adjustments, go out maybe a little bit later on, and see if we can get it a little bit quicker.
Let's see, 5th fastest so far, 169.351 miles an hour. Can you squeeze a little more speed out of it? Were you sandbagging a little bit out there, John?
Well, we don't sandbag, but we run as hard as what we have in it, and we didn't have the car in full-fledged qualifying trim, and we're just gonna go out again and maybe do another run about closer to when we're gonna qualify tomorrow. See what we got left and go from there.
For a new team, it seems like the second half, we always look at people starting in the second half and starting to build on what they learned in the first half. Are you guys taking that next step here?
I think that our step is even going to be greater because, you know, the team has really come together. I've been learning Winston Cup. They've been learning me, and they just keep giving me better and better race cars, more to my liking, that is. And I can't say enough about the team. It's really coming together, and as long as we stay pulling in the same direction, which we are, we may just steal one away from before the end of the year, and that's the goal right now.
Yeah, I know a lot of people thought you would have stolen one a little bit sooner, but you still got quite a few races to go. I know last year a lot of people ask you, compare this place, stock car versus an Indy car, you know, what's the big difference? I'm not going to ask you the difference, but which is more fun to drive here?
I'll tell you, when they're right, and then they're fun, and they're wrong, and you hate them.
So it doesn't matter what kind of car, right?
It doesn't matter what kind of car. But I'm with a really fast race car, Kmart and Little Caesars, and, you know, we're having a good time. And, you know, 5th fastest is good. When we first went out there, we were 2nd fastest, so we better go back out there and try and get ourselves a little closer to the top again.
All right, and don't forget, today doesn't count. It only counts tomorrow.
Yeah, I know, but when you go out there, all you know is you want to go as fast as you can go.
All right, that's John Andretti, 5th fastest so far in practice today.
Terry Labonte has a 167.1, Ned, not very bad. And look at that trap speed at the end of the front stretch, 191, and that's about as good as we've seen. I think Jeff had, what, a 192?
Yeah, Jeff Gordon had a 192 a little bit earlier, so that is right up there among the best of them. I don't know if he can pick up at other points on the racetrack as well.
That second turn speed was a little bit slower than last lap. Let's see if he's going to shut it down here as he goes into 3.
Yeah, I think he already has shut it down.
So Terry Labonte has a 167 to his credit as practice continues here for the Brickyard 400. We talked briefly with Smokey Unick. We want to continue that conversation. Smokey, you transcend the Indy cars and the stock cars. You've worked in both. Did you ever think that you would see the stock cars running here at Indianapolis?
Not really. In the very beginning, I was hoping they would consider it, but Bill France or NASCAR and outfit up here got at each other's throats so badly it looked like it was totally hopeless. I can still remember seeing Bill France Sr. getting thrown out the back gate here in the cinders.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they picked him up and threw him out.
But a lot has happened since that time, and Bill France Jr. and Tony George are now in charge, and fortunately these two got together. Who were some of the big names that drove for you over your career?
Just here or just everywhere?
Everywhere.
Well, we started alphabetically, and Andretti, Curtis Turner, A.J. Foyt, Joe Weatherly, Paul Goldsmith, Herb Thomas. That's a few of them that I can think.
Fireball Roberts?
Fireball Roberts did a lot. Bobby Unser, Al Unser Sr., and I just can't remember them all, but there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, a lot of great ones, no question about it. And, you know, the great drivers migrate to the great cars.
Yep.
And I think that's a testimony to Smokey Unick and the type of equipment that he put on the racetrack.
Is the best damn garage in town in Daytona Beach still open?
It's still open, but not to the public. Got it fenced up, and we got 2 or 3 very vicious dogs in there. Junkyard's still in charge. And but I work either 7 days a week in Daytona doing research and development and race-oriented programs, or I'm goofing off like up here.
I have a feeling that you're going to be working right up till the end. It's been a fun and pleasure seeing you and all your success through the years. Thanks for joining us, and hope you have a good time this weekend here.
Well, I'm sure I will. And again, for those of you who haven't made up your mind whether you want to watch what's going on here, if you don't come, you're going to miss something pretty exciting is the way I see it.
All right.
Thank you again.
Smoky Unique, and we're going to take another break and be back in just a moment as practice continues here. Dick Trickle goes back out on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for practice for Saturday's Brickyard 400.
Everybody's coming with their best stuff just like they always do.
Everyone that raced there thinks they'll be better.
You know, we're going back there with a vengeance this year.
We're going to just try to go as fast as we can.
Still Indy.
And this is the greatest race course in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, better known as the Brickyard. And they are practicing today for Saturday's Brickyard 400. We've had about 90 minutes out of a 4-hour practice period. And Greg Sachs is at the top of the speed chart right now with a 169.754. There's a Hall of Fame museum here at the Speedway. We'll be right back. Brickyard 400 practice continues at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway here on ESPN2. Bob Jenkins along with Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, John Kernan, and Dr. Jerry Punch. Jeff Purvis is the car that you're watching at the moment traverse the 2.5-mile oval.
The Jackaroo barbecue sauce car. Jeff only runs a limited schedule in NASCAR Winston Cup racing.
Let's see what that lap was. 165.235, so not too bad. About 4 miles an hour off the best pace that we've seen, but not bad for Jeff Purvis.
Not bad. See, he's got 185 going into at the high-speed part of the racetrack there, going into turn 1. And we've had a speed as high as 192 by Jeff Gordon a little bit earlier here today.
Again, Jeff Purvis was in last year's field. He started 29th and finished 34th. He was running at the end of the race, but 20 laps down. And there's A.J. Foyt, who is back out on the racetrack. Foyt, of course, put this deal together not too long ago. This is one of his cars. He owns it, but the Motorola sponsorship came along just recently, giving him the funds necessary to compete in this year's race, or at least hopefully so. We'll know after qualifying is completed. But he surprised me last year, Ned, when he came out of retirement and qualified for this event, having not run Winston Cup race all year, and it wouldn't surprise me a bit that he makes this year's event.
It was quite an accomplishment, really.
Yeah.
As many cars. Jerry Punch talked earlier in our telecast about how many cars there were here last year just trying to make this field, and he did make it. I think he was the 40th fastest qualifier, but nevertheless, he was in the field. So not running the series, it's tough to come and just try to make one race if you aren't there every week and keeping up to date on every little thing that's going on in the sport.
AJ finished 30th last year in the Brickyard 400, and the speed is 164.489.
And that's quite a bit faster than he ran when we saw him out there the first time. He was down in the 155-mile-an-hour bracket.
Well, Jerry Punch is over there in the 23 garage. Jerry, they making progress on repairs to that car?
Bob, they are. In fact, if you believe that when a car owner in a Winston Cup garage sits around in the air conditioning and talks to sponsors, not so. Travis Carter a minute ago, who owns this Camel-powered car, Jimmy Spencer, was actually welding segments with the trailing arm on. Now, what happened here, let me show you. When Spencer hit the wall on that first lap, he bent the left rear trailing arm. You say, well, how could he bend the left rear trailing arm when he hit with the right side of the car? But the rear end actually bolts on right here, and when he hit the right side of the car, it shoves the trailing arm over on the left, and buckles the trailing arm. This is the bent one here. This is where the spring bucket attaches here. And, of course, this is where that all-important rear sway bar, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, attaches on top. Now, behind me, they are underneath this car. We're putting in the brand-new rear sway bar. That's the damage on the left side. Now, if you'll come inside, I'll show you the right side of the car damage. And Cecil Gordon and the crew inside working on the car. The right side, the sheet metal all skinned up. They broke both the ball joints in the right front. A little bit of damage underneath the left rear, but primarily the right side is all cosmetic. Bob?
All right, so they will continue to work on that car and hopefully get Jimmy Spencer back out there. BP, meanwhile, has Dale Jarrett.
I sure do. Driver of the Texaco Haviland Ford. Dale, how's it going?
Pretty good. Not as fast as we want to be, but it's not time to be yet.
It's on 4 jack stands, and they're just scampering on around. And what are they doing?
Well, we're changing the shocks and going to change the gear. And, you know, we basically got 4 hours here to practice, and we got 1 set of tires to practice with this afternoon, basically, because we want to save a set to make a practice qualifying run tomorrow, and then we'll have to save a set for the qualifying. So we got a lot more time than we do tires.
So right now you're trying to get everything right so when you do go back on the racetrack, you can make the most of that lap.
Yeah, we're just running 1 lap at a time, and, you know, when I come by here, I shut off. Just trying to get the most out of the tires that we possibly can and let the tires get cooled back down each time.
I see you got your, hey, Ernie, come here. See you got your helper back there. By the way, I want to let you know that Ernie was good enough to give me a bottle of water to squirt him with. How come you squirted me with the water a while ago? Me on TV and you squirting me?
Because I knew that you wouldn't be able to get your big old fat belly in the picture.
Oh, you what? Yeah, that's true. So how you feeling?
Feeling great.
Yeah, you feel real good.
Yeah.
You look real good.
Yeah, appreciate it, Benny.
You gonna be here all weekend?
Something coming from you.
You gonna be here all weekend?
No, I'm gonna be at the truck race tomorrow night, and I'm going home.
Rubber's been doing a pretty good job in that truck, huh?
Been doing a great job. Great job.
Any news on when you might try driving again?
Hey, Benny. My new shoes.
What? No Fear shoes.
Now, these are like nobody has these shoes. Yeah. They just come out.
Yeah.
So that's pretty rare pieces. But
what's that got to do with driving?
Oh, well, you got to have shoes to drive.
Were you trying to dodge the question or what?
Who's running fast? You said Schrader was, and I went and checked, and he wasn't.
Well, that's what my little box said. My little gadget I just got a while ago said he was fast.
You should go out and get a rebate.
Well, I didn't pay anything. I got to get a rebate. You know about that promoting stuff. How much you pay for those shoes?
Nothing.
Exactly. So that's what I paid for my little gadget. So how can I complain? Does your shoes fit?
Greatest shoes in the world.
They are?
Shoes in the world. Brand new. That's what's so neat is because you can get them and nobody else has them.
Hey, Ned, this guy's trying to sell something. We'll take it back to you.
Yeah, everybody's always trying to sell something. And we got a guy here with us, Benny, that's wearing a uniform with a sponsorship on it. Now, we haven't seen that in quite a while. Billy Standridge from Shelby, North Carolina is here. And I believe, Billy, this is the first race in 1995 that you will compete in if you make the field.
Well, Ned, I did run the race at Atlanta first year.
Oh, okay,
and,
okay.
I run Darlington, finished 24th and 14th down there. I had some pretty good runs, but that's only 2 races.
Well, it's good to see you with a new uniform and with some writing on it.
Yeah, we're glad to have this. Phillips come on and helped us for this race. Right now it's a 1 race deal. Hope to add it, hope that we can make it into something else, something bigger. This is one place I wanted to come back to. We had some good runs up here last year and had some mechanical problems second day. And, we run real good. Had the 20th fastest car last year in practice, but I wanted to come back. I sort of felt like I got cheated there.
Have you been out there today?
Not today, not yet. A lot like Dale Jarrett said a while ago, you got 1 set of tires, and I told him let's get the car right, no problems, no bugs. Let's get it all worked out. Make sure all the bolts are tight. We don't want to go out and something happen and then waste what tires we got. We did come and test last week. Run some good times last week. If I hadn't come and test, I probably wouldn't have come back. Because being away, we was away for ever since April. Mm-hmm. You got bugs. You got to get work back out.
What does it mean to a guy like you that doesn't have a great deal of experience in NASCAR Winston Cup racing to come to the Brickyard?
Well, I like the place, and I really like flat tracks. I've always done pretty good, like Hickory, Yeah. It's, you hadn't got to hire the banking and stuff, and I've always run pretty good on them. And I don't know, I come up here last year and run good, and, this place has got a lot of history to it, too.
You know, I enjoy the place, enjoy the track, the people.
Do you get goosebumps when you go through the tunnel here and come in here?
Well, yeah, especially the first time. Yeah. You probably get goosebumps when you come in here.
Absolutely, no question about it. Well, Billy, we appreciate you coming by and want to wish you the best and hope that you can go out there and prove to those new sponsors that you can get the job done, and maybe it'll go into something else.
Okay, thank you, Ned.
That is Billy Standridge in the Tropati car. BP, you've got your pants all wet now. You were leaking through your shirt a while ago. What's the deal?
Ernie, I'm going to get you. I am going to get Ernie back. I trust you. I'm going to get him.
Blame it on Ernie with the squirt bottle. Uh-huh. Get out in the sun and dry off, will you? We will be back with more practice for the Brickyard 400 in just a moment from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Benny, now what are you doing? I'm glad your wife can't get ESPN to it.
Boy, the newest thing in the collectibles. We have got the racing rag, and I'm getting wiped down with Jeff Gordon. How about that? Well, but it wasn't really the Jeff Gordon thing I was interested in. It was
yeah, right. Send her over here. We can use some wiping down too.
No thanks. See you guys. Bye.
Okay, get to work. I'm Bob, and he's Ned, and we're here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway watching practice for this year's Brickyard 400. Now, Rusty Wallace is preparing to go out. They're working on the car. Rusty has been out, and let's see, his best lap has been 169.2, Ned, and here's John Kernan.
Well, I'm standing by with his crew chief, Robin Pemberton. And Robin, I know the most asked question today, since Roger Penske owns the team, his team missed out on the Indy 500. Did he put any added pressure on you guys to make this race?
No, there's no more pressure put on us by Roger than we put on ourselves. You know, it's not just another race. The Brickyard can't be just another race. There's a lot that goes on. You know, everybody wants to run good here. There's a lot of money at stake, you know, even though we all say we race for points, there are certain places that we think the points are worth more than what they really give us, you know. So he didn't put any more pressure on us than what we've already have, you know.
Now, we've talked about the limited tires for practice, 3 sets, not seeing everybody going out running laps like crazy. So what do? You've got just an infinite number of things that you can change on the car to get it ready for qualifying, but after you make those small adjustments, you have to go out and check it out, but you can't do that with the way things are set up right now, right?
Yeah, that's true. Luckily, we came here and tested last week for 3 days, so we're close. The teams that came to test, I think, will be closer today. You'll notice that they'll only run every 45 minutes, make a 1-lap run. What this will let you do is you'll just sit and let the tires get nice and cool before you make your change and go run again. The racetrack seems to be a little bit looser than it was when we were here last week, so we'll probably run maybe 2 more times today, and that'll be it.
Are you able to get a good baseline when you come back in the morning to get it ready for that qualifying run then with a limited number of runs today?
Yeah, we will. You know, we drew number 8 to qualify tomorrow, and qualifying's earlier, so, you know, this is about the heat of the day that we'll run in. So I think we'll have we know what we need to do. You know, we'll get all our stuff done today, and tomorrow morning it'll probably be a little shakedown run, you know, maybe get the butterflies out if there is any such thing, and, you know, and go after it from there.
Well, look for them to go back out, for Rusty to go back out in probably 25, 30 minutes or so. They're among the fastest here. Let's go now to Dr. Jerry Punch.
John, we're talking about hot properties in NASCAR Winston Cup racing, and there isn't anybody any hotter right now than the guy standing to my left, Ward Burton. And Ward, it's not because of what you've done, because you've struggled this year in Winston Cup racing. It's because of the potential so many car owners see in you that they say you're the man they want to hire. I mean, all we've heard the last month from different people is where you're going and what you're going to do next year. Any ideas, any firm plans?
Well, I appreciate that, Jerry. That's a real big compliment. You know, my biggest plans right now is to try to do Hardee's and A.J. Diller's good job as I can the rest of the year. For next year, I'm really not sure. We'll see what shakes up here with the team I'm at, see if we can get a sponsor. And right now, there's not a lot shaking up in the Winston Cup garage. You know, I've had some of the best car owners out here that's winning races every year talk to me, but a lot of contracts don't run up to 97, so I'm never been in this situation before and kind of new to me, but I'll be glad when it gets resolved. I know that.
You know, people say there isn't loyalty in professional sports anymore. Last year, this guy here turned down 2 of the top rides. We're not going to tell you who they were. but it's not fair. But he turned down 2 of the top rides in the garage area because you wanted to remain loyal to A.G. Dillard. That says a lot about your character.
Well, I did, and, you know, I have a pretty clear conscience about that. Those 2 rides are winning races this year, and, you know, I just really felt like that they had, being they, car owner, the team, and Hardy's had done a lot to get me to where I was at, and loyalty, how far it gets you in the sport, I'm not sure, but I feel like I did the right thing. I just hope that I don't have to pay the price for it too long.
As we get ready to leave and go back to Bob, let me just remind you fans watching the race here, you'll see an empty quarter panel on the side of this car for the first time, and Hardee's has agreed to allow you to look for an associate sponsor, I'm told, for the rest of the year.
Yes, sir, that's right, Jerry. You know, we've had a few financial problems, and Hardee's has been sincere enough to let us hopefully find an associate sponsor to put on the quarter panels so to help out the team to get through the rest of the year, and it's a good jest on their part.
So Hardee's will be on the front and back, but the quarter panels could be somewhat new. We could have an announcement here in a couple of days. Bob?
All right, Ward Burton finished 31st in last year's Brickyard 400. Now what are you doing, BP?
I'm cooling off, man. Phil Martas's got a big fan. Philbert, hey, you know how to take care of things, don't you?
Yes.
I appreciate you letting me stand in front and taking all this air off the fan.
Anything for you, Benny.
How's the car running?
Car's running very well. We tested last week. We had a successful test. And today, I just arrived here, but the guys told me they're very pleased with the way the car's running.
Someone told me you're going to move this team over to Charlotte so it'll be closer to the hub of things. Is that true?
That's correct.
You're going to spend some money, aren't you, Big Buy?
Tell me I haven't so far.
You're going to spend even more money.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for that. I'm going back to the fan, guys. Back to you, Bob.
Okay, BP.
Of course, he owns the car that Kenny Wallace drives, the car number 81. It's a Ford.
And there is Robert Presley out on the racetrack right now, and he is second in rookie points as we go into this race. 3 R's battling for the Rookie of the Year honors. And Ricky Craven right now atop the list. Robert Presley trying to make a showing here at the Brickyard this year. There you can see his trap speeds as he enters turn number 4.
A little bit slower than some we've seen come through there, Bob. We'll see what his lap speed is, the overall average. Haven't seen Robert on the track today. He's been out there. We just, I guess, haven't caught him yet.
And the lap was 165.9, Ned. And again, the fastest of the day is Greg Sachs at 169.745. Jeff Gordon is second, then Bill Elliott, Lake Speed, John Andretti, Rusty Wallace, Bobby Hamilton, Joe Nemechek, Rick Mast, and Bobby Hillen. Those are your top 10 in speed so far, and we've had about an hour and 50 minutes of a 4-hour practice period here at the Speedway today.
We've talked about the sun being in and out right now. It's sort of out. The track could be heating up a little bit here now. There have been some clouds that passed over the sun a few times here, and then it goes away and the sun comes back out, affects the speeds on the track.
And Robert has decided to shut it down and bring it into the pits. So with him doing that, we're going to take a break here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We'll be back with a familiar voice here on ESPN2, the guy that calls the action for ESPN's Lightning, Dave the King Wilson, in a moment. The famed Brickyard, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. There is the scoring pylon that sits down in the straightaway down toward turn number 1. It is Greg Sachs atop the pylon right now with the fastest speed of 169.7. And joining us here in our little broadcast position back in Gasoline Alley is Dave the King Wilson. Now, Dave is a local radio personality, but he also calls the action on ESPN's Lightning, the go-kart series, out at the Velodrome, which happens during the summer months. Good to have you.
Well, thanks a lot. It's great to be here with you guys, and nice to meet you, Ned. It's a real
pleasure
treat.
to meet you.
But we have a great time, on the ESPN2 races, and the young guys starting off, and gals that are starting off, and almost every race driver, if you go back in their career, almost all of them have gotten into a go-kart at one time or another. So we have a great time at the Velodrome calling those races, and it's pretty good racing, I think.
This this guy is a very knowledgeable person on auto racing because you grew up not too far from here, right?
I grew up right over at 30th and Georgetown here in Indianapolis, and I came to the Speedway for the first time in 1963 to see a tire test one day. My dad says, let's go over here and jump in and check it out. So I've been coming here basically since then, and have been worked in various capacities here at the Speedway. With a couple of times I got to work for the press department doing some leg work and things like that. But have a great time out here, and I'd just as soon be here year-round if we could. And it was a great addition when the Brickyard was announced so that I could come out here and spend some more time at the Speedway other than just in May.
Hey, how's Stan Fox doing?
Well, you know, some great news with Stan Fox. I spoke with Ron Himmelgarn, and I understand you might have him as a guest earlier or a little bit later on. But Stan I saw him at the Rehabilitation Hospital here in Indianapolis not long ago, and I also own a comedy club at a bar here. We were a slight associate sponsor on his car for the last 3 years, and I saw Stan there, and he was coming along real well. But people say to me now, I haven't seen him in 2 weeks, but he's talking. The trachea is out of his throat. He is talking to folks. They get him in the car. They take him out and about, and doing real well, coming along real quickly, and which is a great thing because, boy, he took a wallop there at May, as many people know, but he's coming along real well.
In addition to everything else, we should mention that Dave is a stand-up comedian, and the reason that you have the nickname The King is
That's
because...
Right. Well, I do The King on a radio show here in Indianapolis, the Bob and Tom Show, and it's the King character. We been doing it since 1983, and the King is kind of just kind of grown in people's minds here in Indianapolis, and I'll be starting my own show on another radio station coming on Monday, WIBC, an AM station here. I'll be doing their drive time show from 4 to 7, so the King will be on AM, baby.
And we'll also watch for you on ESPN Lightning throughout the summer months.
Exactly, a lot of fun there. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, Dave the King Wilson, let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch with more on Stan Fox.
Well, speaking about Stan, I'm with Ron Himmelgarn, who we've spent a lot of time with every May, a longtime IndyCar owner. And Ron, Stan was driving your 95 Cosworth-powered Reynard on that first lap and that incident in Turn 1. I know you've been following Stan's progress very closely, not because he's a driver, but because he's a very close personal friend. And how is he doing?
Stan's doing fantastic. I mean, the improvements he's made in the last few months is just great. He's going through his rehab. He's at a rehab hospital here in Indianapolis, and he's making gains every day. He's up and walking, and he's talking, and he's really gaining. I mean, it's exciting to see where he's at, as severe as the accident was. And I think that if everything goes right, hopefully in another week or so, he can go back to Wisconsin and start his rehab there in Wisconsin, which would put him closer to his family and his friends. And all in all, he's just doing great.
You know, we documented the fact in May that he had a closed head injury from the impact of the deceleration, but it's remarkable to me and the people watching at home, we were doing the race here, that he didn't break a single bone with all that went on in that car.
Well, it's very fortunate. I think, first of all, it shows the quality of the car, how it did protect him, and even when the car split apart, there was a skid plate underneath that actually took the impact of the first blow. When the feet was hanging out, there was a skid plate underneath the car that actually took the blow and glanced him back off the wall. And then obviously when he came down on Cheevers, he hit the wing, but it was hard enough but still soft enough that it didn't break any bones. And it's totally a miracle that he didn't, and that it all just stayed within the brain, you know, the injuries.
You wanted to be involved in stock car racing as well as IndyCar for years, and you're back. You were last year here with Stan Fox at the Brickyard, and this year, what's your involvement?
Well, I'm here with Melling Racing, and myself and Delta Fawcett, my sponsor from IndyCars. We want to be involved with the Brickyard and be involved in this NASCAR. And we looked around, and Harry Melling, he's from Michigan, and I'm from Michigan, and I've heard a lot of good things about Lake Speed, and we just started talking and communicating. We put the deal together, and we're very, very happy to be involved with Melling and Lake, and Delta Fawcett wants to be part of this race. It's a big event, and hopefully that Ron Himmelgarn, little by little, will work his way into NASCAR, because I just enjoy racing, period, and I just got to get my feet wet and whatever, and I'm smart enough to know it's not always what you know, it's who you know, and I just want to start meeting people around here and hopefully join in with somebody or be part of somebody's deal, but I just enjoy racing no matter what kind of racing it is.
And folks, a quality individual all the way around, IndyCar racing, stock car racing. Good to have you here at NASCAR, Ron Himmelgarn, and good luck. I guess you're in the IRL next year. Good luck there.
You bet. Thanks.
Bob?
Good to hear that Stan Fox is doing so well. Well, the guy who has the 5th fastest speed is John Andretti at 169.3. When we come back, we'll talk to this man, his owner, Michael Krantafis. Stay with us from Indianapolis. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway is abuzz with race engines, stock car race engines, as practice is going on for Saturday's Brickyard 400, and we are just about halfway through the practice period. It lasts from 1 to 5 Indianapolis time, and we're now at 3 o'clock. So Dale Jarrett is out on the racetrack right now at a 166.1 last lap, Ned.
Yeah, and that not too good compared to, say, Jeff Gordon, who's well over 169. In fact, a number of drivers have gone over 169, but take into consideration, as Dale slows it down here, that he's been out a number of times, and the speeds continue to go down for the drivers as they continue to run more on the tires.
Well, the first time I met this guest that we have over on my far left, he was the director of special vehicle operations for Ford, and I thought, gee, this is really a great guy. He's very intelligent, knows everything about racing. And then he decided he wanted to become a car owner. And I thought, now, what in the world does Michael Kranevis want to become a car owner for? Are you thinking those same things?
Well, maybe the word intelligent was slightly misplaced here. No. But I watched, Ron Hamilton before. He said, I like all kinds of racing, and racing has been my life. And I really enjoyed that early on at Ford of Germany in the 60s. Having our own team, and that's where I wanted to go back to. And I thought we had a pretty good program here with Ford Motor Company in the United States that would allow me to do what I wanted to do. And Cup racing is the best show in town, so you want to be with the best. It is a lot more difficult than I had anticipated, a lot more frustrating, but here I am.
Well, you not only come in here with a brand new team, takes a while, even with all of your experience, and Tim Brewer, who's the crew chief, has a lot of experience too, but it still takes some time with a new team, but also a relatively new driver, because John doesn't really have that much experience in Winston Cup racing.
That's correct. And I used to have big arguments with Jack Roush for years. He kept telling me, you can count a guy who's doing well in the Busch series. At least it takes him 3 to 4 years before he's a stand-up Winston Cup driver. And there are certain conditions, specifically as John, comes from other areas of racing, where you have better ways to set up the cars. Here in Winston Cup racing, you just got to learn to drive through those kind of conditions, and it takes a while, and that's one of the things that we have been able to provide him with, equipment that it takes for him to be more successful, and for him to be able to tell us what it takes to get there.
By the way, we might tell you that Jeff Bodine has apparently touched the wall out there, nothing real serious, and we'll get more on that situation in just a moment. There is the damage that has been done. Let's take a look at it right now. Ned, again,
similar to the Jimmy Spencer deal. It looks like he might have got on the gas a little bit too hard and drifts up into the wall, just clips it as he comes off the turn. Doesn't look like he hit it too hard. Maybe no major damage done.
Let's go to Jerry Punch.
And we are in Jeff Bodine's garage, and just showing you some of the work being done on the right side of the car. Now take a look. He just scraped it up between 3 and 4. He took a lick right in the middle of Tanya Tucker's salsa here on the as they're trying to work on the car. Cal Lawson, come here, Cal. You guys working on the car. Is the car just a little bit of cosmetic damage, or is it hurt?
Yes, it's just a little cosmetic damage. We scraped the wall last year in practice right before qualifying. Looks like we've done it again up in 3 and 4 this year. It shouldn't affect the way the car handles or anything. I think we'll be okay.
Well, let's go check with the driver. Jeff Bodine sitting back here, or was in the back of the garage, standing around here talking to his crew chief. And there's Jeffrey over here. Jeff, if you can get a moment and get you to chat with us here. What happened out there, big guy? You had a little shunt.
That's just called close racing.
Is that what that is?
Well, actually, the front made it through the corner. We nicked the fender just a little bit, but the back of these cars are a little wider, and it just didn't fit.
Now, wait a minute. Turn 4 hasn't been very good to you at this place. I mean, you need to stay away from that part of the racetrack.
Well, actually, this was in between 3 and 4, and it didn't really slow us down any. Just a little brush and go, I guess you call it.
Not going to make Tanya very happy. I mean, you hit right in the middle of Tanya Tucker's salsa emblem over there. Just basically wiped the salsa off the car.
We have a new decal that will go on that car. It will say Tanya Tucker with no problem. You'll be able to read it really clear.
Got to remember last year what a great effort you had up here. Led 24 laps. I mean, you had probably the only other car that could run with Gordon in the race.
Well, yeah, and it was really disappointing that we didn't get to finish the race and, add to the show, plus have a chance at winning. But that's why we're here this year. Try to do it again. And, under some different circumstances. The new Monte Carlos are really fast. So for us guys in the T-Birds, it makes it a little tougher. We're on Goodyear tires this year. The Hoosier tire thing was a big story last year. And I think here they were pretty even. Some tracks, they weren't as good. Pocono, they might have been better. But here they were pretty even. So our setup that we ran last year is working really good with the good years this year. So I think we'll be as fast, as good in the race as we were last year.
Well, he should be a factor again this year as he was a year ago. And speaking of those fast Monte Carlos, it's one on the racetrack right now, Bob.
Yeah, and it's driven by Dale Earnhardt, and we can see his trap speeds right now. And we're continuing to chat with Michael Cranifus here, who's joined us in our broadcast position back here in the garage area. Looks like Dale's got a pretty good lap going. This guy is tough wherever he goes, isn't he, Michael?
It's just remarkable. Dale and the way he has kept the team and motivated. I mean, it's difficult enough to win one championship. To do this year in, year out, I have nothing but respect for Earnhardt.
He's got some good speeds going 191 going into turn one there. We saw Jeff Gordon earlier 192.
Yeah.
How important is this this is the only track that you go to where you have these printouts of speed in various parts of the racetrack. How important is that?
And instantly available. It's very, very valuable because not only that, they also print out the times at which certain laps have been done, so you can really compare it, and it's very, very helpful. I wish we would be able to have access to this kind of information at every racetrack. But then again, you can argue if you don't have the information, the races are still pretty good, It just bumps up the costs,
And here's, of course, the defending champion of the race, Jeff Gordon, who has turned in the second fastest speed of the day, 169.543. He's been out several times, Ned. We've heard him say earlier that he's just going out to run a couple of laps at a time, but he's doing it at different times during the day, depending upon when he is drawn for qualifying tomorrow. And I think he's drawn a late number for tomorrow's qualifying.
I heard someone say I think it's like 37th or something like that.
Whoa, look at this. He just moved it up.
Very quick.
Yeah.
I think the secret today is to take advantage of the 3 sets of tires that you have, which means you can't really go out with every little change you make on the car. You really got to discuss it, and whenever it is that you go out, you got to get the most out of it. You only got 3 sets, and if you have a problem tomorrow, you got to have at least 1 set of fresh tires for second round qualifying left over.
Jeff Gordon has upped the mark. He has turned in the first 170+ mile-an-hour lap here at 171.047. Last year's pole sitter is this man, Rick Mast. Here's John Kernan.
Rick, Jeff Gordon just over 171. Can you top that to win the pole again this year?
I don't know, John. We ran 1 lap so far, and the car's pretty good. We ran 169 something, and we're just letting the tires cool, go out here and try again, see what we can do. We came up here and tested last week. We had a new car and an old car. The old car, well, we tested a new car for like 2.5 days, and we never could really get the thing worked out the way what we wanted. The older car run a little bit slower, but in race type deals, we run both cars like a 30-lap run, a race type condition. And the old car fell off 6/10, the new car fell off a second, So we decided to bring the old car back, even though it might not qualify quite as good. We feel like the car raced better. But the big thing's on my mind right now. I've been sitting here watching this a little bit. You got Jenkins and Ned, slim, trim, real good fit, or good shape. They're sitting in those chairs interviewing. You got poor old Benny walking around sweating, about ready to have a heart attack. Y'all need to work on that, guys. I don't know what we're trying to do to Benny. I'm worried about Benny.
Well, during the break, I heard Bob Jenkins. They were told that I was going to be interviewing you, and they said, who is going to be interviewing Rick Mast? And Jenkins said, well, that's going to take a wide angle. I was kind of offended by that, weren't you?
Well, those guys sitting in those chairs underneath those umbrellas, they're not out here in the real world like you and Benny are beating the bushes in the heat.
Wrap it up, John.
They can say that stuff and get away with it. Y'all guys are in the trenches doing the work.
That's exactly right. And Jenkins, I think that was you telling me to wrap it up. I'm not going to listen to you. I only listen to Neil. I've got to ask Rick here, the pole winner last year. Did it carry over when you came back here to Indianapolis?
Yeah, pretty much so. The media hype has anyhow. I've done a lot of interviews this morning, a lot of that. Everywhere we go, the fans, the media, wherever, all year long, people want to know about Indy. Honestly, thinking back, I've had a year to reflect now. Probably this race last year stung me more than anything's ever happened in my career because, the car was just flawless the whole time I was here. They dropped the green flag, I led the first lap. I come off the 4th turn of the 2nd lap. I lose a cylinder, so we run all day on 7 cylinders, and I might not have won, but I'd give whoever won Gordon, I think I'd give him a good run at the end, if we hadn't won, and we'd have been there all day. So, our thinking right now is, the losing the race the way we did or whatever, having problems, probably hurt us more than winning the pole helped me. You know what I'm saying? So consequently, that's why we decided to bring our little bit slower car up here to maybe get ready more for the race than we did with the other car. It might not make sense, but, you know, not a lot of things down here make sense at times.
I don't know. I've always heard if you want to go fast, sometimes you got to slow it down. Isn't that right, guys?
John, thank you very much for that interview, I think. Oh, seriously, good luck to Rick Mast in his effort to win the pole and the Brickyard 400 on Saturday. Michael, thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck to you and the Kmart Little Caesars team the rest of the year and here at the Brickyard.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Michael Kranifus and Robbie Gordon will be up in our next segment. Robbie had to sit out last week's IndyCar 500 at Michigan International Speedway. We will talk with him and find out how he's feeling in just a moment. There are the top 10 speeds on the first day of practice for the Brickyard 400. Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Familiar name since about 1958 is on the racetrack. That is A.J. Foyt, who did run his first Indy 500 back in 1958. And he made last year's race here at the Brickyard and trying to do it again this year. And a familiar name around the Brickyard for the past few years is Robbie Gordon as far as Indy cars are concerned. And as I indicated before the break, you scared us to death last week because in practice, he was involved in a very scary accident, was knocked unconscious for 3 to 5 minutes, taken to the hospital, later released, of course, but because of the rules in IndyCar racing was not permitted to drive in last weekend's Michigan 500. How you feeling?
I feel fine. You know, I was ready to go on Saturday. I came back to the track after the accident and said, hey, you know, the doctor said I'm fine. Can I go race? And they said, no, you know, due to a rule we have, if we let you race, we'd have to let somebody else race another time, and maybe they wouldn't be okay, so they wouldn't allow me to race.
And you even had a note from your doctor saying you were okay?
Well, the doctor that watched over me all night said he's fine. You know, he said I was normal, so you know, he said as far as he was concerned, it was okay for me to race, but IndyCar rule is if you get knocked out on a race weekend, you're not allowed to race.
And it's unfortunate because you're in a battle for the championship in IndyCars. You're right up there.
Yeah, it really is unfortunate. You know, there's deals where you deserve to be in accidents, and I've always admitted the ones I've deserved to be in. And this one here, you know, the left rear suspension broke on the car, and it sent me to the wall. You know, not much you can do about it, and it was an excellent opportunity for us to make up some points on Jock.
I guess we should mention that we had Michael Kranifus on here just a few minutes ago, and when he first got into stock car racing as an owner, you were his first driver, right?
Yeah, I drove the first race for Michael at Michigan. Had a lot of fun. You know, I really enjoy the stock cars. I would like to come here and race at the Brickyard, but sponsors and team owners said, you know, it wasn't the right thing to do this year because we're so competitive in the championship that if something would happen here, that would hurt us in points.
Maybe somewhere down the road?
Definitely. Like I said, I've always enjoyed stock cars, and I'm always a stock car fan. I'll always be around.
Well, of course, Robbie, one of our big concerns here as we continue to cover this practice period is how Benny Parsons is doing in the heat. He's wearing all this equipment, and he's running around everywhere. Benny, where are you now? What are you doing, and how do you feel?
Ricky Craven and I are trying to figure out how to work this machine, this pager that Jim Ellis gave us just a moment ago. Have you figured out yet, Ricky?
No, I'm wondering if I can drive this place and play with this video game at the same time.
That's not a video game, man. That tells you who's doing what.
That's why I can't figure it out then.
That's right. Hey, he thought it was a video game. He didn't even know what it was. How's the car run?
A little disappointed. You know, we were 8 or 9 tenths slower than we were last week. Different tire. So when we figure out what we need to go with a Goodyear tire, then we'll speed up.
What are you doing to the car now?
Changing gear, changing little nose weight, change shocks next run. You know, we've only made two laps because of the tire situation. 3 sets. Got to save a set to qualify Thursday, maybe a set Friday. So we got to stretch these as far as we can, and we've run 2 runs, and we're not very happy after the first 2 runs.
How much do you think the tires are slower right now than when the first lap you ran on them?
Well, they're certainly slower, but the tire is so different than what we ran last week. That's the biggest curve that's been thrown at us. I'm a little bit concerned because we don't have a lot of, you know, you're limited to how many times you can run around here on one set of tires. And we'll get a couple more runs today and maybe 2 or 3 tomorrow with a Kodiak Chevrolet, and then hopefully be close enough to tape it up and go.
You won't run the second set of tires until qualifying tomorrow.
Well, if we get back to where we're supposed to be, we will, because then we'll be good enough to be in the top 20. Right now, we're outside the top 20. But I think we'll be back there all right. I mean, we have an idea of what we need to change. It's just, again, you're so limited. You know, I mean, when do you ever go to the racetrack and see this many drivers and this many crew members leaning up against the wall? And
not very often.
Yeah, normally we get 2 hours of practice and qualify. Today we get 4 hours of practice and don't do anything, and then another 2 tomorrow, and you'll see the teams hustling tomorrow.
All right, you talk about changing the gear. Let me show you what they're talking about. Brad, let's go under here. I'll get down this creeper here. Oh, my Lord, this is hard work. I used to do this for a living, folks.
30 pounds ago.
Yeah, about 60, 70 pounds ago. Hey, when you go, are you about ready to take this thing out? Okay, here we're coming out. The gear's coming out. To take that whole piece out of the center. Uh-oh.
Benny, watch for the grease. It might fall on your face.
No, they've already got the grease out of it.
Okay.
Did somebody take the axles out?
Yeah. Maybe they left a bolt in it.
Nope, the axles are out already. Well, this is not as easy as it used to be.
What, you mean getting down there or changing the gear?
Changing the gear used to be a fairly easy job. But it's about a 75, 80-pound piece that you take out.
Hey, Benny, our guest here has a thought. Robbie?
Robbie Gordon.
What's that, Robbie?
There's too many Chiefs and not enough Indians.
I didn't have your mic up there for a second.
Say it again, Robbie.
The question was, with Benny under the car, I was just wondering if we had too many Chiefs under there and not enough Indians.
That might be the case.
Unfortunately, and thank God, he cut out. I did not hear a word he said. Back to you guys.
Can you get up? That's my question. Oh, he's going to stay under there. It's cooler under there than it is standing out in the hot sun, so he'll probably stay under there for a while. Well, tires seem to be the story here, at least one of the stories, as the practice continues here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company has done a lot of research and development in the past year, coming up with just the right combination for this year's Brickyard 400.
We had a pretty good tire at Indianapolis last year. We've adjusted it a little bit and just made it just a little bit different on the left side and changed the construction slightly. But everybody was pretty happy with the tire last year. We don't have to look for speed this year, so we can look for consistency, durability, and I think tires just won't be an issue this year at the Brickyard.
This time everyone's on equal playing field, so you know, if someone beats you, it's because they prepared their car better, or maybe they did their homework a little better. You can rule out that it's because of tires.
You have one equal basis to deal on. All the tires are the same now. It's up to the teams to do the best job on their cars and the driver to do the best job. You've seen last year in races that cars that were semi-competitive, I'll say it that way, they put a set of Hoosier tires on and made the race, but didn't run well in the race, and basically took some guys out of the races that normally run good all race long.
Anytime you take off one of these infinite number of things we have to do the race cars all the time, you know, when you can narrow down your choices of things to do, it makes things a lot easier on the driver and the crew chiefs, the guys working on the cars. So one tire company, that's all we need.
Well, you like to think so, that it's better for everybody that we just have one tire, because you don't have that extra variable thrown in there. It just puts it back in the hands of the crews and the drivers, and that's where it's at. That's where we need it to be.
Hoosier was here last year, of course, along with Goodyear, but just Goodyear now this year here at the Speedway. But talking about tire companies, the race that Robbie was unable to participate in Sunday at Michigan was won by, for the first time, Firestone. And I know you're a Goodyear driver, Robbie, but boy, you got to salute Firestone for a great win Sunday.
Well, you know, the one thing you got to salute both the guys for is it's been a safe season. You know, we have had tire war in IndyCar, but I don't know of any accidents that we've had due to the tire war. You know, so Firestone's doing it very professional, and so is Goodyear. They're not getting too involved and taking too many chances and too many risks with their tires. You know, it was a good victory for Pruitt. You know, it was a well-deserved victory. He's been racing IndyCars for a long time, and he finally has an opportunity with a strong team and to pick up his first victory at the Michigan 500. You know, what a place to pick up victory.
Yep. More on the tire situation. Let's go to John Kernan.
I'm standing by with Phil Homer of Goodyear. And Phil, halfway through this practice session, what have you been hearing about the tires?
Everything seems to be working pretty good. It's an extremely hot day, and
yeah,
I think
I'll be
that's
back around
the cut down in speeds a little bit, because the cars are lighter than they were last year, and the engines are the same and whatnot. So Last year at this time, I think it was like 75 degrees, and now it's 95 or something like that. So it's going to cut down on the speed. Qualifying tomorrow because of it might be off a little bit, but everything seems to be working fine.
You know, everybody made a big deal out of the tire war with Hoosiers, how you had to sometimes maybe sacrifice a little safety to get the speed. But this year I've noticed the speeds are still pretty good. The tires, though, are holding up great. How difficult is it for you guys, for your engineers, to come up with the design that is not only safe, but is also fast for these drivers?
Well, the two parts of the tire, construction and tread. The construction has always been really good and strong. Last year, you know, we were going soft to be fast and this and that. This year, what we've had to do is almost as difficult a problem is to find a comfort zone where the tire is not hard and not soft, but comfortable for the drivers, where they can really find a good grip, but the tires will last a lot longer too.
Well, they've got a lot of tires here. In fact, Phil, standing in front of a veritable sea of Goodyear Racing Eagle rubber. I tell you, I could retire off of what all these tires are worth over here, Bob.
Oh, John, you're a man of millions. We know that, and so I doubt if that would even cover your weekly expenses.
You're exactly right, Bob.
Jeff Gordon is the fastest on the first day of practice for the Brickyard 400 at 171.047. We'll be right back. At the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, preparing for Saturday's Brickyard 400. There are some what we consider normally IndyCar drivers that are attempting to make the field. There is one of them. Pancho Carter, who is a many-time starter at the Indianapolis 500, is driving car number 78, trying to work up to speed to get into this year's Brickyard 400 field. Rusty Wallace, we might tell you, has moved into the 170-mile-an-hour category. He is the second fastest during the practice session at 170.843. Well, another Indy veteran is standing by with the doc.
You cannot talk about Indianapolis Motor Speedway without mentioning the legendary A.J. Foyt, and I am with the four-time Indy winner. And A.J., people say, no, wait a minute, you retired a couple of years ago, yet you're back at Indy. It's good to see you.
Well, it's nice to be back. I retired from the Indy cars, and last year, you know, I didn't do too good or make that good a show and run a deal with it. Got away from there. So I just thought, I hate to leave this place looking like that, and that's the reason I'm here, trying to do a better job this year.
Now, you got a deal that came together just a week ago with the folks from Motorola. Now, what all is that going to involve? We understand maybe some more races.
Well, it's very possible, you know, it's according to how we do here. It's a one-race deal right now with Motorola, but I met Mr. Tucker and Bob, you know, Fred Tucker, super bunch of guys, and I just want to do them real good.
Now, you fielded a very, very competitive team with Eddie Cheever this year, and but there's still a lot of people whispering that A.J. still wants one more shot at the month of May. How about it? Have you thought about maybe coming back one more time for the 500?
Well, I've thought about it, but, you know, so far, I don't know. I just got to get through this year and see what happens, and things don't work out right. You never know what I'm going to do.
Now, I realize that I've grown up being an A.J. Foyt fan. I'm going to admit it here on national television, but you're 60 years of age in a race car, and you don't look 60. But do you feel it out there on the track?
Not really. If I felt that old, I wouldn't be there. Now, it makes you feel a lot younger. And who told you I was 60? I thought I was 50. But no, I'll take 60. No, all in all, I feel pretty good. I'm just a little heavy on this hot weather, but I'll sweat it off, and then I'll be in good shape my race day.
Legendary A.J. Foyt trying to make the Brickyard 400 for the second year in a row. A.J., good to see you back in a car. Look like you're having a lot of fun. I haven't seen you smile this much since the last time you climbed out of the race car.
That's quite true, and that's the reason I wanted to get back in so I could get happy again.
That's a super text. Certainly hoping to be here for the second time in 2 years. Let's go to watch Dick Trickle on a racetrack, one of the fastest cars in testing just a couple of weeks ago.
Yep, Dick Trickle is back out on the racetrack. He's been out quite a bit, as a matter of fact, so far today. You know, Ned, there are those that have different opinions on whether A.J. Foyt should be in a race car, but he said one thing in his news conference yesterday. He said, I still love to race, and I want to be doing what I love to do. And I got to thinking, well, you know, I love my job, and most people love their jobs. If that's what he wants to do, and if that's what he loves dearly, then by golly, he should have a chance to do it.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. He has meant so much to the sport of auto racing over the years, not only the Indy cars, but NASCAR along the way, too. And, yeah, if he wants to do it, by golly, go get it. If he feels like it, and apparently he does.
Morgan Shepherd is on the racetrack in the Citgo Ford. Morgan here at the Indianapolis Brickyard 400 last year, started 11th and finished in 10th position. So he had a good run last year and looking for an even better one this year.
And the Citgo Ford has been running good at many of the races recently. Bob, he had a good run at Pocono. He had a good run at Talladega a few weeks ago, finished in 4th position in that event. So they seem to have more consistency going in their operation, although that team has always been pretty consistent, but they seem to have stepped it up a little bit here in recent races.
Seems like that he is always in the top 10 come banquet time when we go to New York City and cover the banquet at the Waldorf Astoria. Seems like that Morgan Shepherd is always on the stage picking up the paycheck, and going into this race, Morgan is 6th in points, and his best finish during this season has been a 2nd at Loudon, New Hampshire. A victory has eluded him, but he could very easily win this race on Saturday. Seems like the activity's picking up a little bit here, Ned. Here's Dale on the track.
Yeah, Dale's out there. We saw Ricky Rudd right behind him there in a shot there a moment ago. Jared has been out there a number of times this afternoon. He told Benny Parsons he was not totally happy with the speed that they've been running, but they've been making adjustments on it. So hopefully they'll be picking that up a little bit and getting the car to work a little bit better.
Well, there's a lot of action out on the track, and there's a lot of action going on in the garage area, right, Benny?
You're right, Bob. Jeff Hammond, the crew chief on the Kendall Oil Pontiac, driven by Rich Bickle. You got about the 8th fastest time, but they're taking the engine out. Something happened to it?
No, Benny. What we're doing right now is this is one of our practice engines we came up here to practice with, and right now we're going to put our qualifier in, which we believe to be a little bit better. At least we hope it will be. Rich is doing a super job in the Kendall Pontiac, and we're looking to have a really good qualifying effort tomorrow.
8th fastest. Did you hear me?
I heard that. I mean, it's still real early in the day here, and we're at Indy. And, temperatures have a lot to do with everything, and everybody's just kind of getting dialed in. So it's going to be some fast qualifying times, and I really feel good, at least at this point in time, that we're in the top 10.
I didn't think you was ever going to get that radiator out.
Well, that radiator right there is a special one for qualifying, and sometimes it's a little bit bigger and it's a little bit tight quarters right there, but we got her out and we're gonna get the motor in too.
What's special about the radiator?
It just carries us a little bit more water for qualifying. It's a pretty good size, racetrack, and keeping the engine cool during qualifying is very important. So, we've got one, for here at Indy for qualifying.
So if the radiator holds more water, they can put more tape on the grill, right?
Absolutely. In these long straightaways, it's very important to carry a lot of speed into the corners. The car's working really well, so the straightaways are going to be real important tomorrow. Whoever gets a good straightaway speed will be, tough.
And another Pontiac driver is standing by with John Kernan.
And Benny, it looks like Michael Waltrip's crew is getting the car ready to go out. Is that right, Mike? You getting ready to go out and try a qualifying run?
No, we're not going to do a qualifying run. We're going to leave the old tires on it. NASCAR limits the amount of tires you can use during a pre-qualifying session. So we just want to put a little bit more tape on the front of the nose and see what it makes the car do, even though it'll be on old tires. We want to see if it'll pick up the straightaway speed. Just judge off what it does on the old tires.
So this is outside of running on old tires. This is basically what you do to get ready for a qualifying run, correct?
Yeah, what you're looking at. The crew will run cold water through the radiator so you can put more tape on the grill, which makes the air go over top of the car instead of through it, which gives the thing a better speed in a straight line. But we're just got plenty of time here, so we're just trying a few things. We're going to save our tires, I think, till tomorrow to make our simulated qualifying run. The Pennzoil Pontiac is running good. Got some Indy veterans here. Ron Puryear's been coming to Indy since the 60s, maybe even before that, I don't know. He knows a lot about this place, and those guys over there for Pennzoil, they've been winning race here for a long time, so we're just trying to play out all our cards and not make sure we don't miss any tricks so we can make sure we get a good qualifying attempt in tomorrow.
Yeah, very quickly, you mentioned the success that Pennzoil-sponsored cars have had here in the IndyCar, in the Indy 500. Does that put a little more pressure on you to perform?
Yeah, I didn't know it would ever play into that, but it certainly has come to that. Jim Pate and Bill Welcher and all those guys with Pennzoil, they really love this place. They've had a lot of success here, and we had a good run here last year. We weren't quite as good as we needed to be, wound up running 8th, but they said I got to do better than that this year, and so kind of turned the heat up a little bit, but should be in good shape come race day. The thing's really working well.
Well, the pressure's on for Michael Waltrip, but look for him to have a good run this weekend.
Michael Waltrip here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as the practice continues. There's Lake Speed on the 2.5-mile oval. Back with more of our live coverage on ESPN2 in a moment. Rick Mast is practicing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, hoping to duplicate what he did last year, and that is win the pole for the Brickyard 400. He's just shut it down, though, and come off of his practice run.
And just had a good practice run, too, Bob, at 170, just a little over 170 miles an hour, so that shoots him up to the third fastest so far.
How about that? There have been 3 drivers over 170. Jeff Gordon the fastest at 171.047, then Rusty Wallace at 170.843, and Rick Mast just broke into the 170 area at 170.309. Jerry Punch is with DW.
See if you can figure out what kind of day Darrell Waltrip's having. Take a look. The hood is up on the Western Auto Chevrolet, and Pete Peterson and the crew are working, pulling out spark plugs. Doesn't look very good, and DW is sitting inside the car, and Darrell, it looked to be going well until just a little bit ago.
Yeah, we just ran our best lap with the blown engine, so we were gaining on the car. It's brand new, and we were just kind of shaking it down, working through a little series of things we like to do to new cars, and everything was coming along good. We'd gotten down into the 53-second bracket and was creeping up close to 169 mile an hour, and then this happened. I don't know, no explanation right at this point, but I got my doctors under there. My Western Auto doctors are under there, and they'll tell me what the diagnosis is here in a minute, and I'll either get out or stay in and go again.
This is the time of the year when the budget starts to get a little thin for racing teams. Now, what does the car owner tell you when you blow an engine and you spend about 50 grand and it just goes boom?
Well, you know, it's just one of those things you deal with. A good car owner certainly looks at the money and the budget all the time, and that's what I do. But by the same token, you don't want to scare anybody to death by saying, hey, we got to quit blowing up every week, or we got to quit wrecking every week, or we got to quit using so many tires every week. You've got to perform at a certain level, and if you don't have the money to perform at that level, then you better be doing something else.
As a car owner and driver, DW, is it get frustrating a little bit? I mean, the driver says, hey, we're missing out on valuable practice. The car owner says, hey, that's a big chunk of change.
Well, yeah, it's frustrating to be an owner. I got to admit that. I sometimes wonder, you know, what my last few years of driving would have been like had I driven for someone else and not taken on the responsibility of owning my own team. But that's narrow. That's looking at the short term. Looking at the long term, I do have the patience, I do have the expertise, and I do have the experience to build this team into the caliber of team I want it to be. So I'm going to have to put up with all the headaches as a driver, and hopefully when I get ready to get out of the car, a talented young man can get in the car and will be able to take advantage of all the hard work that I put into this race team and these engines and everything else.
But you're not planning a departure anytime soon?
Not anytime soon. I don't see anybody out there that really blows my skirt up right now.
Whoa, DW, 3-time Winston Cup champion, having a little fun here. Still able to smile, although he just spent a half of a C note on an engine that let go here in practice session. Let's go to Benny Parsons.
Benny, are you there?
He's probably eating.
Oh,
you can see he goes to the food cars.
I knew he would gravitate to where the food was. I guess we have a microphone problem. I thought he was probably delaying his words because he had his mouth full of food, and that still could very easily be the situation.
Very well be. Of course, he's over there near Joe Nemechek.
Well, you know, the cloud cover has definitely moved in, and the wind has picked up, and our resident meteorologist, John Kernan, is looking at the radar. What's it look like?
Bob, right now to the west of us, it looks pretty bad. As we get a look here right in the center, that's the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You go a little further west, you see some cells building here. And up in Lafayette, West Lafayette, where Purdue is, you can see they've got a pretty intense thunderstorm going on right now. And back in Illinois, and of course the screen will always go blank when something like this happens. So us weather people have to do a tap dance, but there is some weather in Illinois. It's been fairly stationary today, not moving very fast. But the thing we get here, a lot of convection, the heat building, humidity rising up into the air, forming the clouds. The humidity keeps building in the clouds until the raindrops get so heavy that they have to fall to the earth because of gravity. And that's why we get a lot of thunder showers here in the Midwest. And once again, we get to look at the map as the map is back. But you can see we've got a little rain activity building approximately, looks like about 8 to 10 miles away from the Speedway. So we might have some intermittent showers a little later on. That's the best I can give you right now.
Any indication, though, which way it's moving, John? It usually moves to the northeast, but sometimes it doesn't.
Bob, this cell that at Lafayette has pretty much moved straight across east. It was over here, the last image, which was about 30 minutes ago, and it has moved directly to the east.
Okay. Well, it's not uncommon, Ned, to have showers and thunderstorms here when it gets this hot in central Indiana. So let's hope it doesn't rain, but we've only got an hour and 20 minutes of practice, and I think a lot has been accomplished here so far.
Oh, yeah, and it won't make nearly as much difference in practice as it would if we were doing a race here this afternoon.
There's Hut Strickland and the Quaker State Ford, having just come off of the racetrack from a practice lap. Here is Bobby Labonte in the Interstate Battery Chevrolet taking a lap on the track.
Now, Bobby stayed up in the top 10 for a long time here this afternoon. Hasn't been out in quite a while, so we'll see how he can do now. He gets 188 miles an hour going into turn 1, then 174. Slows down, of course, through the short chute there at 156.
His last lap was 167.691.
He has had a faster lap than that today. I think he's been over 168.
Yeah, 168.568 has been his best lap, so let's see if he can better that on this one.
Of course, Bob did some tire testing for Goodyear here.
He's coming off of it
this year, and he's coming off of it, coming into the pit, so he won't finish that lap.
Bobby Labonte coming in after a practice lap. Well, we'll be back with more coverage of practice for the Brickyard 400 from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. ESPN2's coverage of practice for the Brickyard 400 live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A couple of cars out there getting some practice laps in. Todd Bodine followed by Kenny Wallace as they come down the main straightaway and head for turn number 1. Jeff Gordon, last year's winner, is the fastest so far today at 171.047. Well, we're going to stretch our legs here for the next few minutes, and we ask you to enjoy with us a turn back of the clock. We go back 1 year ago to the inaugural Brickyard 400 and see how that weekend went as auto racing history was made.
They say that tradition is spontaneously created. With that as a guideline, a brilliant blue sky greeted the drivers on race day morning.
A lot of people. It's great for the sport of motorsports. Looking good.
See all the people and all the cars lined up. It's hard to believe that we're here. It's great.
Just being here is so unbelievable, and to be a part of this whole event. But man, to come out of here on top, be the winner, I can't describe it. It would mean more to me than anything in this whole world.
As the largest field ever to start at Indianapolis prepares for 400 miles, the competition will be fierce. The difference between the pole sitter, Rick Mast, and the slowest qualifier in the field, A.J. Foyt, is just over 1 second. The inaugural Brickyard 400 field includes 4 sets of brothers and 2 Indianapolis 500 winners. There are 15 Chevrolets, 23 Fords, and 5 Pontiacs that will encircle the famous oval 160 times, vying for a place in the history books alongside the legendary Ray Haroon, who won the very first Indianapolis 500 83 years ago.
The key is trying to figure out what the racetrack's going to do. None of us have ever been here. We don't know what it's going to do. This track changed the other day in 3 hours of practice more than any racetrack any of us have ever seen.
This is like the Super Bowl or the first Masters that we could compete in. I know that Rusty's excited. Rick Mears has been there to work with him, and Unzer's been telling about the hump going into turn 3.
This place is very magical, and the people here are just tremendous, and there's so many people, and you know, you always have butterflies here.
It's like going to Disney World for the first time.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
The eyes of the entire sports world are focused at this moment on 300 acres of real estate in the northwest section of Indianapolis, Indiana. A new tradition begins as the green flag is about to come out to signal the beginning of the inaugural Brickyard 400. And the green is out.
I think that because it was an inaugural event and it's Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you know, everybody before the race is playing it cool, like, you know, it's a long day, have a good day and stuff. But it's like those front guys, they all wanted to lead the first lap. And you just really know how it's going to work out. But when they drove down the first turn and I saw how hard Earnhardt was running on the outside of Rick to try to lead into that first corner and lead that first lap, I couldn't believe it. I was kind of, you know, I was like, man, what's going on here? When they ran 2 abreast, I almost had a shot at sneaking to the inside of both of them going into turn 2. And, you know, the door closed up, and I wasn't going to try to pressure too much because, you know, to me, the last lap is the one that was important to me. And I tucked back in behind them, and they raced hard all the way down the back straightaway.
It has been 30 years since Gasoline Alley actually housed gasoline. However, today it does. NASCAR rules allow for only 2 cans of fuel in the pits, and crews must return to the garage area to replenish supplies. By lap 47, Harry Gant is leading after an incredible ride from a start in the 42nd position. This will be Harry's final season on the NASCAR circuit. Jeff Gordon retakes the lead on lap 48. He will lead the next 23. 30 cars are still on the lead lap. Gordon, still leading the race, pits again on lap 69.
Well, we come down the back straightaway, and he had just come out from doing his stop, and I wanted to put him a lap down and try to get as much ground made up on him as I could before I came into pit. Knowing I was coming in that lap, I passed him down the back straightaway. He had the fresh tires. I had the old tires. We drove into turn 3, and he came right up on me. Well, I was trying to wave to tell him I'm coming in the pits, so he was trying to pass me. And I went down to the inside trying to tell him to go to the outside, go to the outside. Well, he didn't see my hand gestures because he was trying to get by me. And when we come off 4, I came right down to the bottom. Well, he was underneath me. And as I led up to go in the pits, he drove by me sideways, hit my left front. I hit his right rear. We both, you know, and the 2 cars that were really the strong cars most of the day at that point, just about wrecked.
On lap 131, Jimmy Hensley and Jeff Brabham tangle in turn 2. The accident brings out the final caution period of the day. It also allows the leaders to make their final pit stops. Gordon is in first, followed by Irvin and Wallace. When the green flag flies at lap 132, Rusty Wallace becomes the 12th driver to lead the race.
Remember, Rusty couldn't run him down on the track, but got by him in the pit area. They work off the second corner, nose to tail, down the back stretch. Ernie Irvin stays in 3rd position.
Wallace drops back as Jeff Gordon and Ernie Irvin resume the battle for the lead. 20 laps from the finish, and Irvin catches Gordon. As Gordon and Irvin race toward one of the classic finishes in auto racing history, fate becomes part of the plot.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeff Gordon, oh, he's going to go around him. He's taking the inside. They touch. He's got the lead. The lead going into turn 2. Indeed, they did touch. A little high coming into 2. Irvin's a little lower, but now Jeff with about 5 car lengths off, and the fans once again on their feet.
Ernie Irvin slows in the backstretch. A tire is going down, and finally, let's go. Jeff would take the checkered flag and grasp the symbolic silver brick and become the hero to every youngster that has ever dreamed of driving at Indianapolis.
The Indianapolis Brickyard 400, 1994, and now we switch live in 1995 as the practice are continuing. That is Jeff Purvis, who is out on the racetrack getting some more laps in the number 44 Jackaroo Monte Carlo. Our pre-race show this year is on at noon Eastern time. And then the Brickyard 400 is at 1 o'clock Eastern time. That, of course, will be on ABC. We'll continue our coverage of our practice period when we come back with more from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The garage area is very busy here at the Speedway with various engines being changed and work being done. And the first guy that will go out for a qualification attempt tomorrow is in the middle of an engine change. Here's John Kernan.
Well, I'm with Derek Copes, crew chief, and Jimmy, you know, it takes me 4 months to get an engine change. You guys do this in what, 20 minutes, something like that?
Now we're a little slower, about an hour.
Now, this isn't because you blew an engine in practice, right?
No, this, we just, Keith Allman wanted to try a different motor. We were here testing last week, and we took up all his time, so we didn't give him a chance to test none. So this week we'll let him test them.
Now, Brad told me that he drew the number for qualifying, got position number 1, which carries a $5,000 bonus, and he said he might need that to get home if you all fired him for picking number 1.
I don't know. I think the way NASCAR's got it now with the time slot, it ain't going to make much difference, so just luck of the draw.
Now, you guys have got the motor in right now. How long is it going to take you to get it hooked up and get back out there? There's roughly, about an hour and 7 minutes left before practice is over.
We'll probably be done in about 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Wow. That's quite impressive. Is it any particular reason, or is it just because these guys are really good?
Well, it got everybody's got their own position. This winter, we put everybody in their own corner, so it's like that's their job in that corner, and that's it.
So not only do you practice pit stops where you change tires, you practice engine changes and have a strategy for that?
No, we don't practice it. Somebody might forget it on one side. If they're used to doing stuff on one side and see something not right, then they'll catch it.
All right, thank you very much, Jimmy. We'll let you get back to work. Now, one person who has not been out on the track is with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And I'm with Jeremy Mayfield. And Jeremy, everyone else struggling to get ready, and you guys are sitting here relaxing, all cool, not sweating at all. What's the deal?
Well, we tested here last week and felt like we ran pretty good. And, it's just today's a situation where you got like 4 or 5 hours of practice and only 3 sets of tires. So we want to just kind of play it safe and use all of our tires up tomorrow instead of today.
And you came here and tested last week, and what many people may not know is, folks, they were the 3rd fastest car at the Brickyard. In fact, may have had the fastest trap speed at the end of the straightaway. And that says a lot about this race team, what you guys have done. And as Dave Marcus cranks up and pulls out to go practice up. Now, what about the effort? You guys qualified well at Michigan, finished 8th at Pocono. The team has really come around.
It really is. We really got a lot of momentum rolling right now, and coming off the Michigan deal, going to Pocono and having a good run there, and then back at Talladega finishing pretty good, and things just really starting to turn around with this RCA Ford, and Tony Furse here and got done us a really good job as a crew chief, and we're really looking forward to this weekend.
As always, a surprise at the Brickyard. Remember the name Jeremy Mayfield. He could be the surprise for the 95 Brickyard 400.
And Dale Earnhardt is on the racetrack right now for a practice lap. He appears to be doing pretty good. 188 down the end of the front straightaway. And as he comes through turn 4, his trap speed there was 162. He'll cross the line here and we'll get a complete lap speed. He right now is about, he isn't in the top 10. 169.329.
Now he is.
Yeah, that moves him up to 9th. Benny Parsons has joined us here in our broadcast area.
We're probably wrong. We accused him when we was trying to reach him. He was over there around Joe Nemechek's car. We thought he was over there trying to get something to eat.
We thought you were eating.
That's exactly why I went over there. I was looking for a hamburger, and he said, I'd like to have one myself.
You didn't find one?
How can these guys have Burger King and McDonald's and stuff like that on their car and not have plenty of hamburgers laying around?
Hardee's and things like that?
Yeah. But I did not find a hamburger, and I missed lunch today, and folks, as you can tell by looking, I don't miss many meals, and it makes me hot when I miss one.
That means that BP will be grumpy the rest of the afternoon because he didn't get fed.
What really has been disappointing was the headset that I've had today has been going in and out.
Oh.
And of course, I've only heard about half what you said, Jake.
That's good.
I guess that's the good news, right?
Right. We haven't been too rough on you, except when you were trying to get out from underneath that car and looked like we're having difficulty.
Well, let's see what Bill Elliott's going to turn this time. He's 168.599. That's a pretty good lap for him.
169.4 is his best, Ned.
Yeah,
he's 7th on the list.
7th fastest, so he's not quite as fast now as he had been earlier, but that's understandable, too, because those tires that he is on is, I'm sure, the ones that he's been running on here this afternoon. A little bit overcast here right now, so it might be a good time to be turning some pretty good laps.
Yeah, I think now is an awfully good time to run, and I think that's one reason we're seeing so much activity on the racetrack is just because of the overcast skies that we have. There comes Morgan Shepherd, the Citgo car.
Overall, BP, any surprises, anything that you didn't anticipate that's going on today?
No, I'm impressed with some of these guys in their laps. Rich Bickle, the 40 car. He had a good run at Pocono, I guess it was, qualified about 18th or 20th or something. Has had a great run here today.
How about Sachs?
And Greg Sachs in the 32 car. Kenny Wilson has gone over there to be the crew chief or team manager, and I guess also do some work on the engines. It looks like he's doing a great job.
He passed by here. Greg Sachs did a little while ago while we were in commercial break. He couldn't stop to talk to us, but he said that they came here and tested a week or so ago and said that after it was over, gee, I think we can make this race. And now he's thinking he can not only make the pole, but win the race.
Wow, that is quite a transformation from making the race to winning the race.
Here's Jerry Punch.
A
A little bit of trivia question. Everyone remembers that Jeff Gordon won the inaugural Brickyard 400, but who finished second? Anybody remember that? Well, it's...
I do.
Okay. Well, let me tell you then.
Next question.
Brett Bodine here at Robert Junior Johnson. And Brett, special memories from a year ago. What a great run.
It really was. You know, it was a great run for our team, and, you know, real proud to run second. But I think someday I'm going to be a big trivia question. Who would finish second to Jeff Gordon in the first inaugural Brickyard 400?
Now, you came home with $203,000 and some change. That's about 25% of your annual earnings in one day here. This race is just so special to all the drivers, not only the money, but the prestige.
Oh, exactly. You know, we're racing at the most famous racetrack in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That alone is worth the price of admission, and yet Tony George and his staff pay the biggest purse in NASCAR history. It's just fantastic to come up here and run.
You know, people may not remember where you finished. They do remember, of course, unfortunately, they remember the family feud that took place here last year, you and older brother Jeff Bodine, and all that went on after that, and the fact that you guys didn't talk a lot. But I'd like to be able to tell people today that changed.
It did. You know, it's kind of ironic here. We're back here at Indianapolis. Jeff and I had a long conversation this morning, and it felt good to talk to Big Brother again. And we've been kind of dodging each other for over a year, and I think we both finally realized it's time to bury the hatchet, and let's become friends again.
Back in the family.
Exactly.
How's the Junior Johnson car running?
Well, we're struggling, Jerry. We didn't come up here and test, and today's kind of a catch-up day for us. We've been picking away at them. You know, we've been getting a little quicker. I've been getting up to speed, and the car's been getting up to speed. You know, only 3 sets of tires before qualifying puts a premium on the laps you run out there. I've been running 1 lap at a time, trying to make the right adjustments and right calls back to the crew so that we can make the right changes. We've been gaining on it. Not as fast as I'd like to be, but we're gaining. Hopefully by Saturday we'll be on the money.
Brett, thanks for staying around and joining us. I know you want to get back out and run while it's overcast, so we'll let you go. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Brett Bodine's open to go back out and run some laps now while it is still overcast here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Bob?
Well, there's an empty compartment when you look for the engine in the 40 Kendall Pontiac, the one driven by Rich Bickle. Obviously an engine change underway there, but Rich has been very impressive in terms of speed here today, as he was in the top 10. Not yet, not at the moment. He's been knocked out of the top 10, but he has turned his speed very, very impressive here in the first round of practice. So the work continues in the garage area and on the racetrack. There are the top 10 now in terms of speed on the first day of practice for the Brickyard 400. We'll be back in a moment. We're at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway here on ESPN2 with live coverage of practice for Saturday's Brickyard 400. Qualifying is tomorrow and on Friday. The race, of course, at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Saturday. You know, Ned, as I sat down last night to go over the season and analyze it as carefully as I could, one thing that I almost forgot about was the big controversy regarding Ford versus Chevy in the early part of the season when Chevy won the first 7 races and the Ford people thought they were never going to win. But the manufacturer's battle right now is at 150 for Chevy, 113 for Ford, and 79 for Pontiac.
And of course, you see the number of wins that Chevy has there, 14 as compared to 3 for Ford and 1 for the Pontiac, and it results in those points over there on the side. And I think it's getting, with the changes that have been made, NASCAR has made some subtle changes along the way in the aerodynamics. I think the competition is very, very close right now.
Okay, well, let's look at that more carefully. Chevy, as we said, of course, won the first 7 races of the year before Ford won 2 in a row. Let's look closer at the manufacturer's battle in Winston Cup.
Competition among the manufacturers has been all Chevrolet for the first half of this Winston Cup season. The Pontiacs had the fewest trips to victory lane, and although the number 42 of Kyle Petty has taken the checkered this year, Kyle is waiting out the dominance of the Chevys and looking forward to 96.
We're way behind right now. I think we're waiting on a 96 car is basically all we can say. You know, I think we have to look at it and say, you know, we've got a car that was developed in the late 80s. We're trying to run competitive with it. We are off and on, we all are. You know, I mean, myself and Bobby Hamilton and my father's car and stuff, they're running pretty good. But as a group, you know, it's still just a Chevy Ford shootout most every week.
There have been more rumors about rule changes that could even out the competition. And some team owners like Jack Roush are ready for some relief.
And the difference in drag, the difference in front downforce and rear downforce. The Monte Carlo has got a huge advantage in all three areas. And based on that, the prospects for the Thunderbird winning races this year are not anyways near reflecting the quality of the teams or the drivers.
Darrell Waltrip has been putting in some serious testing at the Brickyard. He placed a strong 6th in the inaugural race, coming from the 27 starting position. His Monte Carlo has struggled to see a top 10 finish so far this season and takes exception to the criticism of Chevrolet.
Well, I think it's a real insult to the Chevrolet drivers to give all the credit to the car. If you look at the records from last year with Illumina, the same teams that won races last year are winning races this year.
Unless NASCAR makes a significant change in the rules, I expect the race to be a runaway for Monte Carlo.
We were told from day one, when the Ford was dominant, build yourself a Ford. But this year, when the Monte Carlo was dominant, we've been told we have to work on your car. It's too good for the rest of the competition. And personally, I don't think it has anything to do with the car. We know we have an excellent race car. We have a car equal to the Thunderbird now. I don't think it's any greater than. I just think it's equal to. But I think the Chevrolet teams are better than most of the Ford teams, and that's where the big rub lies.
Well, NASCAR, Bill France in particular, you know, is totally totally in control of the rules. He orchestrates the competitive relationships of the manufacturers, and right now we're seeing, I think, what he wants today for whatever reason. And based on that, there's nothing that the teams can do. And if and when he decides that he wants to change the balance, I think we'll see a change.
When you think you can go in that truck of NASCAR's and whine and cry and get something done, that's where you're going to end up all the time. Not in the garage working, but in the truck complaining.
So, Ned, the controversy does continue, but I don't think it's as much of a story at this point of the season as it was in the first 7 races of this year.
No, I don't think so either, Bob. And you know, that's just good, healthy competition. As long as we have more than one manufacturer involved, which we hope we will continue to have at least 3, then you're going to have differences of opinion.
And you know, Kyle Petty indicated that next year, supposedly, there's a hot new Pontiac coming out, so that's something to look for as we look at Hut Strickland, who's on the racetrack.
Of course, this is the team that Brett Bodine drove for last year and finished 2nd in the Brickyard 400.
Speeds aren't particularly high, so I don't think he's going to move into the top 10 as far as speeds are concerned. It is beginning to pick up as far as wind speed is concerned. As you can see, Hut Strickland has pulled off the racetrack, so he wasn't on a hot lap. You can see the windsock standing pretty much straight out right now, as it is overcast and it may be blowing up a shower here, but I don't think it's going to rain in the next few minutes. So we'll continue our coverage of practice in a moment. Mike Wallace takes a practice lap at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the first session of practice for this year's Brickyard 400. Mike's last lap was 165.2, and he is at the north end of the racetrack coming into the pits after running that lap of 165. Let's review once again all the coverage that we have for you here on ESPN2 and ESPN in the next few days. Tonight, it's the USAC Silver Crown and Midget race from Indianapolis Raceway Park at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Tomorrow on ESPN, Brickyard qualifying at 3 Eastern. The Super Truck race is at 9 o'clock tomorrow night, the 150. Tomorrow, or rather Friday, Brickyard qualifying at 3 o'clock Eastern. A special preview show with Benny and me at 7:30 Friday night. Speed Week special at 8:30 from IRP with Dave Despain. The Busch Grand National Kroger 200 from IRP at 9 o'clock on Friday. Then on Saturday, a special pre-race show at noon Eastern before ABC has the flag-to-flag coverage of the Brickyard 400 at 1 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to be very busy the next few days. Very busy right now is Benny Parsons, who's with Joe Ruttman.
Trucks. Did you say trucks?
Trucks tomorrow night.
Trucks tomorrow night. And here's the trucking man. This is a pickup man right here, leading the NASCAR Super Truck by Craftsman. Points by how many?
I think 1, 2, or 3, Benny, and not by much, though. Not by
1,
much.
2, or 3. I think the top 4 trucks were within about 38 and 39 points, but this is, what kind of uniform is this? What's this deal?
Well, this is just a replacement uniform right here. No, this is Stan's car I'm driving here, and it's just we've got 1 car, 1 motor, and 1 driver, so if any one of them fails, we're in trouble.
Well, the driver ain't going to. Of course, the driver almost failed a while ago. Tell us about that little escapade up there against next to the wall.
Well, I get next to the wall all the time, you know. So, we've been slipping and sliding a little bit, but we got we're working on her, trying to get her going a little bit faster.
Hey, folks, remember Bristol? The last time we saw this guy on ESPN, I guess it was, the truck race. Bristol went down in turn 1, that left front sliding and smoking. Tell us about that. Butch didn't appreciate that, did he?
You know what it was like?
What?
I couldn't see a thing. I was closed my eyes and just went in there. Just hope for the best, Benny.
And it all worked out?
And it just worked out. You know, it wasn't good driving.
No.
I hope the owner isn't listening.
No, Ernie's on the other
Are
side.
you listening, Ernie?
No, he's on the other side.
Okay.
How's
Ernie?
How's Ernie the drive for?
You really want me to tell you?
No. Please, don't tell me that. What else we done?
I'm glad it doesn't have 2 seats in it, is all, because...
Would he be a bad backseat driver?
Oh, he'd instruct you every inch of the way. Probably be good, but he'd instruct you, I can tell you that.
Turn left, turn right, hit the gas, hit the brake.
Don't be doing this, don't be doing that, because he can do it when I get out, so I can imagine how good he'd do it if I was riding around in there with me. No, but he helps a lot. I think it's good. He keeps me pumped up. There's no question about that. But he'd be tough, you know. I mean, I'm glad I don't race every single day, because once every week or two is enough.
By the way, folks, the Smoking Joe car, remember he hit the wall the first time out about 4 hours ago, it seems like. I guess it was only 3 hours ago. He's back on the racetrack. Joe, how about the trucks?
Well, we're really excited about that, Benny, and we're trying to decipher how we're going to qualify this car and get over there and get all the practice in with our truck, because our truck is the #1 priority. There's no question about it. So, you know, we're begging the NASCAR to let us go kind of early as we can. We drew 16, but it'd be better if we got off in the top 10 so we can get as much practice over there as possible. And because that's uno #1 in my, you know, all of my energy has to go towards the pickup truck. There's no question about it.
And Bob, we'll see him right here tomorrow night on ESPN.
Hey, there's Dale Earnhardt. Who was it?
Well, just driving by, walking on.
Okay, thanks, Benny, for the interview with Joe Ruttman. We will be back to talk with the guy who finished 15th in last year's inaugural Brickyard 400, Lake Speed, when we return to Indianapolis. Jimmy Spencer on the racetrack. He crashed earlier and scrubbed off some paint on the right side of the car. He's back out there now. His last lap was 165.920, Ned, so he's got a ways to go, but yet he's doing pretty good after that crash.
Really, that's not too bad, Bob. And of course, he got a few laps on those tires as well. So
looks like something's leaking out of the right rear. You see that?
I think you just shut it off and it's coming into the pits, and you have a little overflow during that time.
Okay. Well, we promised you Lake Speed, and here he is.
And they are working on Lake Speed, Smelling Tools spam car. And Lake, you guys talked about you finished 15th here a year ago, but what we didn't tell people was you started first, back almost next to last in this field.
Yeah, we gave them all a real good running start before we started after them there. A little bit too much.
Now, how about practice today? Well, I'm told you've only been out for a couple of laps, yet you are being shown as 9th quickest overall. Pretty good effort in just a couple of laps.
Well, the car's been pretty good. We came up here and tested right after Michigan, and the spam melon tool guys have been working really hard on the car. It's one of my favorite race car in the garage there. It just always felt pretty good, and we qualified with it real good in most places. We came there, and the guy said, you know, just go ahead and run it wide open first time, go for it, first lap. And our first lap was quick, and we've come back and sat around and looked at it and wiped on it and whatever, and I made a couple of little minor changes and made another lap, and it was real good too. And so we've just made a few more little minor changes and just little subtle changes, hunting for just a little bit more speed, and it's kind of cooled down now a little bit. Kind of won't be exactly the same comparison, but we're going to go back out there and try and see if we can't pick up yet a little bit more.
How much does a small margin of error here in Indianapolis, like moving the steering wheel a little bit on the straightaways or in the turns, maybe just from not concentrating, does it scrub off quite a bit of speed?
Well, the guys have used a lot of telemetry up here testing, and they're telling me, yeah, it does. I think just your natural tendency as a driver is you always want to be as smooth as you possibly can, because you know that's going to be the fastest way around. The corners are so long here that if you bobble in the corner, it really shows up on the next straightaway as well as that corner. So you pay a price for it being anything other than just perfectly smooth.
Now, before we finish with Lake Speed, the team wanted me to show Benny Parsons something, so hopefully Benny will be able to see this, folks at home. Benny, your prayers have been answered. Let me show you, there is indeed Spam Light. Benny, Spam Light is available with 50% less fat.
All right. Did you know that they have Spam Light now, Ray Evernham?
Spam Light?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't aware of that.
See, fat guys would know all about that. Hey, you've been look at this thing. You practiced a few times this afternoon. Are you on schedule? Have you learned what you wanted to this afternoon?
Well, we probably would have liked to have done a few more things, but, you know, again, limited to 3 sets of tires, you don't get to make that many runs, so you got to kind of pick and choose. We made 2 baseline runs. I feel like we made a big gain the last time he went out. We picked up some speed, but the track cooled off too. But I think we're headed in the right direction, but I'd sure like to have some more tires to play some more.
Right. You're already the fastest guy here. What do you want to do, just kill him?
Well, yeah, we're not the fastest by a bunch. You know, Rusty's right there, right behind us, and tomorrow it's going to be kind of luck of the draw. You know, I bet you could find somebody to pay you $1 million for a cloud tomorrow. This track changes a bunch, 3/4 tenths of a second, and right now when you only got a lead by thousandths and maybe 1/10, you'd like to have a half a second lead.
You fixing to go back out?
We're going to make one more run, basically just checking how much tape we can put on it to keep it cool. I don't know how fast it'll be. These tires got about 12 laps on them, so we're just going to do a temperature check, and then I think we're going to pack it in, go over and watch the USAC races.
Ain't that something? They're going to make a run just to see how warm the water's going to get. John Kernan, who you got?
With Ricky Rudds and his crew busy working on the car. Looks like Ricky might have changed some springs, some shocks, making some last-minute adjustments here as practice winds down.
Well, these guys have changed about everything on this tied Downey Ford, just trying to find a little extra speed. And we elected not to test here because the proper tire, we didn't have the right tire to come test on. So we're doing a lot of our catch-up work right now, and we're getting there. We picked up quite a bit since we've been here. We're probably somewhere around the 15th fastest right now.
Now, what we've been hearing from a lot of the guys who did test is, well, why you've only got 3 sets of tires, but for you, this was a necessity, wasn't it?
Well, we ended up, we would love to have had an extra set of tires to come here and get this car adjusted a little bit better with, but like I say, it's a catch-up game, and you're having to get caught up with just that 1 set, but you have to be careful not to over-engineer because you go out and the tires have got a little wear on them. You might have made an improvement to help the car. You go out and your car runs slower and you're sitting there scratching your head. So it's just a little bit of mind-boggling a little bit with this way we sit.
Now, very quickly, you said 15th fastest. Are you satisfied with that for the work you guys put in this afternoon?
Well, we know there's some speed left. We came here last year and qualified 8th, and we feel like we've got a top 5 contender here. We just got to make the right adjustments.
And that's what they'll be working on the remainder of this afternoon and tomorrow before qualifying.
There's only about 42 minutes of practice time remaining today, and of course they'll have a practice session tomorrow before qualifying begins in the afternoon. Back in just a moment. We're back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway where Morgan Shepherd is on a practice run. Let's see, his last lap was a warm-up lap, so this should be his fastest. 177 at the end of the backstretch.
He has had a lap today of about 168.4, which is not bad. I'm sure he's still on that same set of tires that he started on, so perhaps this won't be up there close to his fastest speed of the day. But nevertheless, as we've heard a number of the drivers and crew chiefs talk about, 167.998, pretty good lap at this point of the day. But they still can learn from these tests.
Mark Martin is the 5th fastest so far today. Jack Roush is his car owner. Here's BP.
Okay, I caught up with Jack Roush. This is Jack. This is Jeff Smith. What is Jeff? He's the vice president of what?
Roush Industries.
Roush Industries.
Also the marketing manager for Roush Racing.
Oh, well, how come you don't wear a hat when all this sun around you, Jeff?
I'm impervious to the ultraviolet rays, Benny.
Quit using them $20 words. Now tell us about the race car. What are we going to do to catch this Chevrolet of Jeff Gordon's?
We're going way slower than we thought we would. When we came down here and tested, Jeff was here when we tested Mark's Valvoline car and Ted's Family Channel car, and Jeff's first lap was faster than our first 30 of testing. And I don't know that he went faster than that. We thought that he probably didn't want to, and it sure looks like that he didn't want to. But we had false hopes, I think, when we came down that we were better than we are, and we still got a problem, the same problem.
Well, and really the problem right now is that you've used up the tires, and you really can't tell a great deal about your speed, your qualifying speed, because you can't afford to use a set of tires to find out right now.
Well, we brought new carburetors down. I seldom change the fuel system, but we brought new carburetors down in an effort to make some additional fuel economy. We think that may be especially important in this race. So we had to make a number of laps, not about setting the chassis up, but about getting the fuel system right. We wore our tires out doing that, and now the guys, Mark parked his car, and I think Ted's about done. We probably have got, you know, half again as many laps on our tires as most other people, and running a car more is just going to make you feel bad when you do that. We'll know what we can do when we take our second set of tires tomorrow and we go practice a qualifying run. And at that point, we'll be on the same tires as everybody else, and we'll see how bad it is.
Hey, Jeff, just kind of take heed from Jack and I. I mean, bald-headed guys wear hats, you see? You see?
I'll put mine on tomorrow, Benny.
Okay, he'll have his hat on tomorrow. Jack, you gonna take yours off anytime soon?
I sure. The time I take my hat off is when I win a race. I always exchange my hat with a fan when I win a race, and man, this sucker here is getting pretty gamey.
Jerry Punches with Andy Petrie.
And we are indeed gamey. I tell you, we're with Andy Petrie. And Andy, you guys have been out 2-3 times today and gaining on it every time. What's the status right now?
Well, we're just kind of, you know, the track's pretty warm today. It's going to be about like this tomorrow during qualifying. And we've only got one set of tires, so we're just trying not to put too many laps on the tires and make changes as we go here and try to get better.
Now, we've talked to different teams and said we brought our best race car, our car that won Pocono, our car that won Michigan or Charlotte. You guys brought a brand new race car that hadn't been tested anywhere. What's the wisdom in bringing, I know there's got to be some really neat idea for why you built a new car that you haven't tested and you brought here.
Well, I don't know if it's a neat idea or not, but our strategy here, we brought our Michigan car here and tested. And at the time, we were not planning on running it here anyway, but we brought it here to test, and we were going to try to find some things, you know, aero-wise on the body and chassis things here that we could learn and go back and build a new race car based on the things we learned here in the test. And as it turned out, we lost that car in Michigan that we tested here anyway, so we weren't able to run it. So we had that test under us, and we'd like to have come back and tested again, but we would have wasted our last test. We only get 7 tests, now we wasted our last one, so we didn't come back. We brought the new car up here based on what we learned in the first test, and we're pretty happy with it so far.
Hasn't been frustrating a year ago. Coming here, you qualified on the front row last year, and on the first lap, you get a little over-anxious. You didn't, actually. The guy behind the wheel did, and tapped the wall. And he freely admitted, hey, I was trying to lead the first lap because I wanted to be the first stock car driver to lead Indianapolis, and as it happened, ended up having to play catch-up all day.
Well, we actually came out of it pretty good. We finished fifth, and getting a top 5 finish after hitting the wall like that is really pretty good. I think it's a testimony to the way the race cars were built. Our cars, I felt real good about our cars after that. To bang it against the wall that hard, and we brought it back to shop, and all it did was just knock the toe end out a little bit. The rear end, everything stayed in square, and so, you know, we were pretty happy with the finish we had last year.
So he sits on here watching as the crew's working on the race car, and they're have it on the scales, and they have it up to David Smith and the crew working here. So we'll let it continue to work as we go back to Bob.
Okay, thank you. Let's update the speeds here just a second. 5 cars over 170 miles an hour, led by Jeff Gordon. Last year's pole speed was 172.4. Jeff Gordon is coming off of the Speedway after turning the fastest lap of the day. He's upped it once again to 171.894. Here are the trap speeds, Ned. Then let's see, 192 there at the end of the front stretch again.
Yeah, that equals his speed that he had turned early in the day. And a little bit cooler now, as several people have pointed out here this afternoon, but that was a super run that he just made.
Some of those trap speeds were on his cool down lap, so it didn't reflect the speeds that he turned on his real fastest lap of his 171.894. He is on top at the moment. Here's Benny.
And I'm with Terry Labonte, the driver of the Kellogg's Cornflake Chevrolet. Terry, this ought to be your kind of racetrack, but you're not smiling really big.
Well, we're getting there, Benny. We've been a little bit off all day. Our car's been too tight, and we've been working on it and picking up speed all day long. So, you know, hopefully I think we'll race really good, and we're getting pretty close there. So we're not in too bad a shape, I don't think.
But when you think of a racetrack like Indianapolis with the 4 different corners, you think of Terry Labonte as a guy who runs well. You did come up and test, right?
Yeah, we did. The tires are different now than they got a little bit less stagger than what we tested, and it's made our car a little bit too tight. And I don't know, we tend to run pretty good on the flat track, so we were looking forward to coming up here, and I think that we should race good. You know, qualifying, hopefully we'll be up in the top 20 somewhere and have a pretty decent spot, but I think we'll run good Saturday.
Well, Terry, we'll be here tomorrow during qualifying, and we'll come back and check on you, see if you're in the top 20. How's that?
Okay, sounds like a deal to me.
And we'll check on Hut Strickland, won't we, John?
That's exactly right, Benny. You know, I was sitting out on the pit road a little bit earlier today. I heard a car go by, sounded like an Indy car. I thought, oh, well, there goes Sterling. Then I turned around and saw it was this green flash. What are you guys doing differently with the exhaust system?
Well, you know, we've kind of sat back and watched kind of what Runt Pittman and them guys have done on the 4-car a little bit, and they've got like a it's like a 130-degree exhaust combination, and we've carried it a step farther to like almost like a 180-degree exhaust. So you know, we're just doing a little bit of experimenting right now. We haven't had a lot of test time with it, and you know, hopefully it's going to be something that'll pay off in the long run.
Now, is that something that you can easily explain so even I can understand?
I can. One cylinder, and you know, routing them to another, taking pipe from one pipe out of one cylinder and routing it to the other pipe.
Now, wait, say that now that you're getting too complex for me, but you guys are over here working, you're getting ready to go back out. Have you been able to catch up on things? You didn't get a chance to test here, right?
Well, we really didn't. You know, we got a brand new car here and a brand new engine. Everything on the car is brand new, so we're trying to sort the thing out. And really, I'm really pleased with everything right now. It seems to be a pretty good car, and you know, it's brand new. So, you know, hopefully it'll be a good one.
I'll tell you what. Let's try and walk around the car here, and we'll get BJ to come around. We'll go up and look at the engine here and see. Maybe if I see it ahead of a visual aid, I might be able to understand this a little bit better. We'll walk back here and look, and okay, can I see it from here?
No, you can't. It's all up in there. It's really too bad. They got it hit out too much, and I don't think right now they want a lot of people to see it. But you know, it's something that you know, we're just really experimenting with, and like I said, hopefully it'll pay off here come Saturday.
No, you're right. I can't see it, guys. And, you know, if I could see it and figure it out and I could sell it to these other teams, then I probably could retire along with that big stack of Goodyear tires, Bob.
You got a money hang-up today, didn't he?
He's wanting to retire.
All right, the top 10 once again, and we might explain we're using the USAC system of timing here, which puts the top 10 in order. We do have speeds on everybody else, but there's no way of getting them up there to show you, but we'll talk about them when we come back. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, there your top 10 speeds so far in the practice session with less than a half hour to go. I'm going to give you some random others here as they come up on the board, and they change real quickly, so bear with me. 166.3 for Steve Grissom. Michael Waltrip, 169.3. 168.4 for Ward Burton. 170.1 for Sachs. 169.0 for Robert Presley. Kyle Petty, 167.5. Jeff Purvis, 166.2. A.J. Foyt, 165.6. Billy Standridge, 166.8. Marcus, 166.6. Hillen, 160.8. Carter, 166.5. Kenny Wallace at 168.3. Ruttman at 166.2. Then we have Terry Labonte at 168.5. Mark Martin at 170.0. He's in the top 10. Jeff Burton at 169.6. Ted Musgrave had a 168.105 net. So there's just some random speeds for you.
And I think the Hillen speed was 168, Bob, not 160.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty. Well, let's talk to the man who is at the top of the list at the moment, Jeff Gordon. He is with Jerry.
Fastest man at the Brickyard, 171.8. Jeff, lap a minute ago, and that's bringing a lot of smiles here to the DuPont team.
Yeah, it sure is. You know, that's a pretty quick lap for the way the track has been today. It's cooling down, so obviously the track's getting better, and that's the first time that we had actually cooled down and put a little bit more tape on. You know, that still isn't on new tires, so they asked me and all the drivers to give guesses what the pole's going to be, and I think my time, I'm going to be pretty close to it. It's going to be faster than that even tomorrow if we have overcast skies like this, but you know, that's a great way to end the day. Just like Ray Evernham just said, he said, if we can just end tomorrow's day like this, we'll be real happy.
You don't get a break. I heard you this morning on Bob and Tom, one of the local shows here, and they're all over your case about winning the Brickyard last year and coming back and trying to running the video game, trying to hone those skills with the video game here at the Brickyard.
Yeah, you know, you come back here and especially being the race winner from here last year, that adds a whole lot to our schedule. But when you got, you know, big sponsors like DuPont and Coca-Cola and Valvoline and everybody that's on board on this car, this is a big week for them, and there's a lot of things to do. I'm doing fan club meetings this week, and there's just a lot of fans in this area that we just don't get to very often, and so we're trying to get to as many of them as we can, and you know, and have as much fun doing it like playing video games. So we're enjoying it. It's a hectic schedule, but it's not too much. It's just the right amount.
Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys, you know what happens when you win the Brickyard 400? You don't go to a black tie dinner. You go back to the room and order a pizza. That's what this guy did a year ago, just trying to relax here and accept what he had done during the day. Bob?
Jeff Gordon looking for a repeat victory here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now let's go to Benny Parsons.
Oh, look, I got to get over here where I can be seen by the camera. You know, you hear that sound in the background, Bob? Listen, hear that sound?
I hear it.
That's Darrell Waltrip's engine. He didn't blow up, a plug wire fell off. The driver was kind of embarrassed. The owner was real pleased, but the driver was a little bit embarrassed. I'm standing by with Dick Trickle. He had one of the fastest cars in practice up here for the Brickyard 400, but the car not back up to speed.
Now, we had the fastest car testing here in practice, you know, but we ran the Pocono tires, and of course, we strapped on Indy tires here, which nobody got till this morning, and we're about a second off the pace, but we picked, you know, all but 2/10 of that up. We're slowly getting back up to speed and had to make some change for the tires.
Last year, Jeff Gordon won the Brickyard. He went back to the motel, watched the race on TV, and ate pizza. What would Dick Trickle do if he won the Brickyard 400?
I don't know. I tell you what, you know, be my first Winston Cup win for one. You know, being in the Midwest here, I know one thing. I wouldn't retire.
You wouldn't retire?
No. So, you know, I'd be so high, you know, I'd probably still be awake come the next race.
All right, let's go to John Kern with Morgan Shepherd.
Morgan Shepherd's another driver I don't think you're going to see retiring soon. Dick Trickle just said he wasn't going to retire. How about you, Morgan?
Maybe 20 years.
About 20 years. You guys have been working really hard today, making some changes. Are you picking up the speed? You finding the speed you need? I mean, this team, you guys finished 10th here last year.
Well, we haven't done a block-off run yet. We're still tuning on the car, and we'll, I don't know where we'll do that today or not, but we're trying to get the best speed we can out of the Citgo Thunderbird.
Well, they've been working really hard all day. I know Eddie and Leonard and all the guys on the crew have been trying to find a little bit of extra speed for Morgan Shepherd, and I think they're just about ready for Morgan to go back out on the racetrack, so we'll wish you good luck, Morgan.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Morgan. Bob?
You know, Ned, this is kind of an unusual situation. I mean, having a practice period the day before qualifying, normally there isn't this much time available. And I think it's been reflected in what we have seen today.
Yes, normally they do not have this much time to practice. 4 hours here this afternoon. Of course, they'll have practice tomorrow before qualifying as well. And it's been somewhat of a relaxing type situation, but for some, it's been a test here this afternoon, even though they're having to test on one set of tires, but they're still learning.
And we'll have a lot more excitement tomorrow when the practice period begins. And, of course, we'll cover qualifying for you live. There's Darrell Waltrip. Just a plug wire off is all that sent him to the garage area a little bit earlier. Looks like the DW is getting set to go back out on to the 2.5-mile oval they call the Brickyard.
Just a few minutes left in practice, and you can see Kyle Pettit's crew, the Coors Light Pontiac, feverishly trying to put a new set of tailpipes on the car. And I don't know exactly what they're trying to do, except maybe they might be, Kyle, they're trying to lengthen the exhaust or shorten it or something? Hang on a minute, let's ask Kyle. Maybe you can what are they trying to do with exhaust?
What'd you say?
You can't hear me, can you? What are they doing down there?
What?
Barry, never mind. What are you doing down there?
We're changing mufflers right now. We're trying to get minor size to minor key or whatever.
That's not mufflers. I've already told them it's tailpipes. So what are you doing with the tailpipes?
Well, we're looking for the engine to act more like it did on the test. And that's one thing we changed there. We need a little more grunt across the short chute, so we're going to a smaller combination.
A smaller tailpipe.
Smaller tailpipe.
Less volume, less size.
Smaller tailpipe, bigger hopes.
Smaller tailpipes, bigger hopes. That's what we got going on down here, guys.
Well, Kyle waits to go back out there with some shorter tailpipes. Dick Trickle has just visited the gas pumps and driven behind us. By the way, there are some thunderstorms rumbling along the East Coast, we understand, Ned, and if we are interrupted for any reason because of satellite difficulties, we apologize. Here's Jerry.
Well, we got Ted Musgrave with us, and most of the teams, Ted, will run a lap or two and come in and just sort of sit, but that's not what you guys have done. You guys have run lap after lap after lap. What gives?
I give up. No, really, what we're doing here right now is a lot of races have been won on fuel mileage, and we've just been working a lot of stuff on fuel mileage consumption here, and you know, carburation, a lot of things like that. Jack's kind of getting a handle on that, so we came up and tested here and did all our qualifying situations out of the way, and right now, like I say, we're just making some runs and trying to figure fuel mileage out, because Like I say, sometimes if you're not the fastest, the smartest can win.
Well, you guys have come in, you've changed carburetors, jets, you keep checking the spark plugs, and what are they doing now with the car?
Well, actually, right now, we're just for the heck of it, even though we got, like 30 laps on the tires and stuff, we're going to cool it down and just see how close we are, just to make sure that we're not too far off come tomorrow in qualifying. So, we know we're okay, but just to doubly make sure that we didn't mess up, we're going to go try a qualifying run now.
Well, let's show you, Pat. We'll take a look at the front of the car. There's Jerry Kennan over there, has the front top and bottom radiator hoses off, and they're trying to put water in the car to cool off they're actually putting water through the engine, trying to cool it off and hope to go out and get a few more laps and get that qualifying set just right. Let's go to John Kernan, who's with Robert Presley.
Well, Jerry, Robert Presley is locked in a battle, a very tight battle with Ricky Craven for the Max Race Card's Rookie of the Year, and this is a tough racetrack even for a veteran driver. How are you picking it up, Robert?
Well, it's been tough. We was fortunate enough to bring our partner, Rick Mass up here, and we've done 3 days of testing. He really helped us a whole lot, so it's made it a little bit easier on myself.
Are you satisfied with what you guys have been able to learn today? I mean, you were telling me you've only run about 10 laps.
Yeah, this is a real good deal, giving us all day just to really fine-tune the car, instead of the regular 2 or 3 hours before qualifying. So it's give everybody a little time to relax and, not be in such a hurry all day. So
does that mean that tomorrow you guys will come out here already be ahead of the game and everybody, the field is only going to be separated by a quarter of a second?
Well, I don't know. The weather here is playing a big part today. We was hoping it'd be hot today, and it's been hot, cool. So, if we get here in the morning, it's hot, we're just going to have to throw everything out the window.
Well, it looks like you're getting ready to make a run now. In fact, I see them putting a little more tape on there, so we'll let you go and wish you best of luck, Robert.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Robert Presley, Bob.
So there's a driver who likes the idea of having a 4-hour practice session the day before the run for the pole position. And we're covering that practice for you here on ESPN2. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Brickyard. Dave Marcus, driver who's the sponsor this week, Dave?
Termite Construction Equipment.
Out of Charleston, West Virginia.
That is correct.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I think so far we've ran like a 54 flat. We need to pick up, I'd say, a good 4 or 5 tenths, but we're gaining on it little by little, working on shocks, sway bars. As you know, very important racetrack, 4 corners. It's flat. You got to get through those corners.
Well, you want to go make one more run before it's cutoff time, right?
We're going to get one more in yet today, Benny. Hopefully, we've made some changes with shocks and a rear panhard bar. Hope it's going to pick us up.
Okay, go get in the car. We'll show the folks what you're doing. As he gets ready to go make a practice run.
Doesn't open the door. You can see that.
Yeah, the first thing you notice right off. By the way, I'll hand him his seat and his shoulder harness here.
Benny, the drivers and the crew chiefs talk in terms of time, and we can only relate to speed, but I did want to say that time that Dave referred to translates to 166.6. That's his best lap of the day.
So we can see he's getting those shoulder harness tight. That's right. He needs to pick up a half second, which is probably 1.5 miles, 2 miles an hour. Now, he's in radio communication with his crew while he's on the racetrack, so he's got to put the earpieces in so they can tell him how fast he's running.
Dave finished 41st here last year, by the way. Got involved in an accident.
By the way, he did not want us to show his bald head there because he's a little vain about that. Brad, you don't have to do that again now. You notice that. And you see, hey, how come you use the open face helmet?
Benny, I've tried a closed face helmet. I ran it at North Wilkesboro. It was very hot there. On a caution flag, I got rid of it. I still prefer the open face.
Okay, now we're putting on the shoulder strap on the right side. What's that all about, I wonder? Putting a shoulder strap on the left side. Huh. That's so when he goes in the corner that his head is trying to go to the right. That solid strap is going to pull his head over to the left side. You see that, Bob?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, seat belt's on. And the steering wheel's on. The gloves are going on. Crewman comes in. Slides in the window net. That's in case the car, something should happen, that his arms will not come outside the car. He's ready to go, guys.
Well, boy, I tell you, that's a little bit different than when you go to get in your own car and start to run down to the grocery store or something like that.
Boy, it sure is. Just open the door, jump in, and turn the key.
He's also much safer than you are in your own car going down to the grocery store, too.
Doc, what do you got for us?
Well, guys, what's wrong with this picture? Take a look at the STP Pontiac, and right in here where the engine is supposed to be, not there. And that obviously means there's somewhat of a problem. Robbie Loomis, the crew chief over here, working in the front of the car. Robbie, tell us what happened here with the car.
Well, I'll tell you, the guys back in the shop put together a really great engine for qualifying, and it just let go here, and we got ready to make a qualifying run. So we're putting in the race engine. It's not very far off from the qualifier. We'll find out where we're at tomorrow morning.
You guys have shown a lot of promise this year with an in-house engine program. Rick Mann and the guys, they nicknamed him He-Man because he built such a potent engine. But your qualifying motor was pretty close, you say, to the race engine?
Yeah, it really is. You know, they worked really hard for Indianapolis for a qualifying motor. But the race motor, they worked just as hard because this race has got so much money on the line here at Indy.
Well, back out of the way, they're getting ready to put this big Pontiac engine back in the STP Pontiac as Robbie Loomis and the crew continue to work. And, hey, Bobby Hamilton had a good lap early this morning, but unfortunately, it went away this afternoon. So this is the race motor they will put in and qualify tomorrow.
Hamilton was in the top 10, Ned, for a while. His lap 169.298 is no longer in the top 10. There is Bobby Labonte on the racetrack. And one somewhat of a surprise here in the last few minutes, Joe Nemechek has cranked on a good lap.
Yes, he has. He's jumped up to 8th fastest now at almost 170 miles an hour. So they're beginning to turn it up here in the late practice here.
And Bobby Labonte is over 170 at 170.129. Just a few more minutes of practice to go. We'll be back to wrap it up from the Brickyard in a moment. Family Channel 4, driven by Ted Musgrave, is on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We talked with him just a few minutes ago. There are his trap speeds as he goes into turn number 3, 189 at the end of the front stretch. Not too bad.
We've seen 192 by Jeff Gordon, and Jeff Gordon is the fastest of those who have practiced here today, so Musgrave is not far off. Pretty good speed coming out of turn 4.
168.105, his best up to this point as the minutes click away and we get down to the final few laps of practice. 157 in the north short chute. He'll come down and stop the clock and we'll get a complete readout on the lap. .863, so that's not as fast as he has been previously. All right, here's Benny Parsons with Bobby Hillen.
You notice everyone has got the game, the little gadget you got to play with. What did it tell you?
Well, it tells us Jeff Gordon's running real fast right now, but it's cloudy and it's cooling off, so that's not really too much to worry about.
I mean, Jeff Gordon running fast is not too much to worry about?
Well, I think it really is, but...
Bobby, I think you hit that wall a little bit too hard there, wasn't it?
No, Benny, he's running great, no, but it's cooled off quite a bit. You know, actually, we've only run one lap all day long. Because we're down this point, we have to save a set of tires for the last day of qualifying, which means that we have 2 sets of tires to run all day today, all day tomorrow, and to qualify on tomorrow. So what we elected to do was tape off earlier and just first lap out, go ahead and bonsai. We ran pretty quick for a first lap bonsai. And the main thing is we learned what the car was going to do. We're going to make a few adjustments and bonsai one more time on 1 lap scuffs, and hopefully we'll be ready to qualify.
Here's a guy that's saving a set of tires, guys, for Friday to be sure and get in the Brickyard 400.
Bobby Hillen did a great job with me as a color TV announcer at Portland a few weeks ago, but he says he still wants to stay in racing.
Yeah, he's still very, very young, and he's got a lot of years left as a driver.
There's Sterling Marlin, Ned, 168.5. He's going to have to pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah, that won't get him in the top 10 right now. The 10th fastest right now is Terry Labonte at 169.9, as a matter of fact. So today you're going to have to run almost 170 miles an hour to shoot up into the top 10.
And you can see he has come off of it. He drops to the inside. Morgan Shepherd is in the middle of the backstretch, and he's looking for a good lap. Morgan Shepherd was in the top 10 early today, has dropped out, but the Sitfield Ford has performed well for Morgan so far today.
Yeah, they've continued to work on it, getting it to feel like he wants it to feel here.
Tomorrow's going to be real interesting. We'll be on with qualifying tomorrow, and of course between now and then we'll have another practice period in which they'll try desperately and finally to search for the speed before going out for the 1 lap of qualifying.
And I'm sure, Bob, we've seen some drivers here today, or have not seen, maybe is a better way to put it, have not seen them up on the board. that we will see tomorrow that'll have better times, because as we've seen another 168.840, I believe that's Morgan's best time of today. He had run about 168.5 earlier, so he definitely has picked it up some here. Still not fast enough to get up in the top 10, but still a very respectable time after the number of laps that he has on those tires.
Well, we've had fun here the last 4 hours. There are the top 10 in speeds as we are wrapping things up here at the Speedway. 170.894. Remember, last year's pole speed was 172.4 from Rick Mast. Any final thoughts, Ned?
Well, it's going to be interesting tomorrow. It's going to be interesting to see who makes the Brickyard 400. A lot of action here on ESPN and ESPN2 for the rest of the week.
How about you, BP?
Troy Silberg told me in Daytona, what do you give for a set of stickers? What was that, Troy? A firstborn child, Jerry Punch.
And now all the practice is over for the first day, and they're back in the trailers thinking about what they're going to do for qualifying tomorrow. Let's go to John Kernan.
Well, Jerry, I've been impressed with the way everyone is kind of taking it easy just a little bit. I think we're going to see a surprise on the pole tomorrow. I don't think Jeff Gordon's going to win it, Bob.
We'll see you at 3 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow afternoon on ESPN with the pole day qualifying. Coming up next is the Hip Hop Body Shop from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.